doing great.
Okay, let me on.
That was so cute.
Thank you.
Warren, let's please keep that in. Don't cut the yawn. People need to know.
No.
The world needs to know.
It's my little, I'm tired guy.
Just a little sleepy boy.
I'm just a little sleepy boy. Hi, everybody. I wonder if you're little sleepy boys out there.
Oh, we sure are. I may never sleep again.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
We're doing another Friday. We're trying to, because Siena, as you guys know, like, before we, should we do our thing? Should we do our thing? We always forget to do it.
We always forget to do it.
Welcome back, guys, to Splice Splatter.
The film podcast presented by the Jean Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where classic horror.
It's modern gore.
We're your hosts. I'm Siena.
I'm Al.
We've been saying that a lot this weekend at the con. It feels like it feels like it's practice.
That's why we're
now.
sleepy boys.
We are sleepy boys.
Yeah, we met we met a bunch of you. Not all of you.
Every single
one of you flew in. It was so amazing. No, we met a lot of you.
Imagine.
Oh my God, I would die. One day.
There's too many of us to fill a room.
I know. There's
That's
a lot of countries.
That's crazy.
Shout out Ireland. Shout out Australia. Shout
Germany.
out Spain.
Yeah.
UK. A lot of UK.
Mexico.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Yeah. I think we hit 50 countries officially, which was like a milestone I've been looking forward to.
My brain went, oh yeah, 50 states.
And we just lost all of our international listeners.
Yeah. But yeah,
it's been nice knowing you guys.
It was so real.
But yeah, we understand. We more than understand. We don't know where you are, but we understand you're leaving.
And if you're watching too, you're probably like extra, like what the fuck's going on? We'll explain that in a minute. But anyway, I do want to give a big shout out. Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to Morgan Crypt in Albuquerque. They were the horror festival that happened this past weekend for us, at least. You guys are hearing this again in the future.
Yeah, I don't even know when in the future you are.
Me either. I haven't done the math
lost.
for that yet. Yeah. But yeah, not only were they lovely, Jeff was an amazing. He gave me like a hug and just said thanks and. Again, it's like a husband-wife duo. I'm really hoping they do it for a third year because it was perfect.
They are so organized.
Oh my God, it was insane.
And it was huge, too.
It was huge.
I spent so much money.
Oh my God, yeah. Me and you, we should do like a haul video because we both bought so many DVDs, shirts, posters.
So many posters.
It was really everyone, all the vendors and all of you that came to say hi. At our booth. It was so cool.
Yeah. And like seeing people walking around in Splice merch was so surreal. Every time I was like, cool. You're a real person?
Yeah.
I'm not hallucinating you.
It's like, that's a cool hoodie. That's ours.
That's ours. Yeah.
I know. That was really cool. But yeah, so just I wanted to give a shout out to that.
We love you guys. That was so cool.
Yeah. That's why we're tired.
Yes. Among many reasons.
I think by the time it's out, you're going to be basically
I'm going to be already shooting by the time this is out. As we're recording, just so you all have like perspective on my mental state, I am currently 11 days out from the start of shoot.
That's wild.
Oh God.
Yeah. This is like the time where it's just like all of a sudden it's going to be like in front of you and real.
Yeah. It's also like, it's again, the biggest shoot I've ever done. So it's, we've covered movies where I've been like, I can't even imagine how these people would be like 7 days out from shoot and not have a character cast. And I'm like, I'm 11 days out from shoot and I have 2 characters that I'm still casting. Yeah. And I'm like, yes, I understand it. I've got to put celery under my pillow now. Thanks, Spielberg.
Celery under the pillow?
Remember from Jaws? He was so nervous filming his first like theatrical feature that he hid celery under his pillow because he found.
Remember that.
Did I not tell you this? Did I tell Al this, you guys?
I don't feel like I remembered celery.
So Steven Spielberg, this might have been I think this is a fact that I ran out of time. I ran out of time for. This was a cut tid.
Never run out of time for celery, Siena. There's one thing.
All right, you guys, we're starting out with the celery tid. So while Steven Spielberg was filming Jaws, which as we know, called flaws by the cast and crew, everybody was like on the verge of mutiny, going terribly. It was supposed to be $3 million. It ended up being $9 million. He'd done made-for-TV movies before, but this was his first theatrical feature. Yeah. He was so fucking stressed that he found the smell of fresh celery calming. And so he would every night during the shoot for Jaws, which again was like, I think months. Yeah, because it was like July to October or something like that. Every single night, he'd put a fresh stick of celery in his pillowcase. That's
why he needed extra money.
Yeah, because he was like, yes, exactly. It was all just produce budget. Because he was like on like the constant verge of a panic attack, and like the scent of celery was the only thing that could put Spielberg to sleep. And so that's me.
I love
you guys.
Do you need some celery?
I need some celery.
Sienna celery.
Please.
Oh my god! Can you imagine though if you brought it to set and he just like slowly you're on the set with like the story you have of working with Spielberg before he was Spielberg, and if he just like pulls it out and he's just like
just need a little hit of my celery, guys.
So I know what to bring when I come visit you.
Exactly.
At the camp. Bring some celery.
Yeah. Which I guess little teaser for you guys. Al and Travis are coming up to camp with me.
Yeah. I'm so
By
excited.
camp I mean set. We're shooting at a summer camp, sleepaway camp style for part of the set, and you guys will get a little behind the scenes peek from that, which I'm really excited for. Still doesn't feel real, but it's gonna happen. Sure. There will be fake blood. There will be fake glass. There will be fake uranium. There will be madness.
I'm very excited to capture it. Too little behind the scenes. So. Speaking of behind the screams, by the time this is out, we have our other behind the screams that we just shot. So my birthday tattoo, Billy and Stu, that Siena and Trav surprised. Too. Yeah, the Billy and Stu too. It's too early for the puns, Siena. We had to warm my little my little cap up first. Yeah. So that
juice is going. I'm so sorry. There was somebody commented on our TikTok and was like, "You need to learn to stop interrupting each other." And I have to say, it's never going to happen. I'm never going to be able to stop.
You have two autistic people in a room.
It's not going to.
It's really hard to fight back. Talking.
This is me doing the best I can.
Communication.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm fine with it. Are you fine with it?
I'm fine with it. Okay. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but you're not here. You're not here.
You're not talking to us. We should explain, actually. So Behind the Screams, it's on YouTube. Check it out. Bud with 4-star. They're so incredible. And you got to finally meet Bud, and he is just
so
the sweetest baby angel.
What a teddy bear of a human.
I adore him. And he's also just so great at tattooing. So shout out to Bud at 4-star Tattoo. Not shout out to Noah. If you know, you know. Watch the segment.
Shout out to everyone except Noah.
Poor Noah's gonna have no idea what's going on.
He knows. He knows what he did.
He knows.
He didn't do anything.
If you hear crunching, or if you're watching, we can kick you off to what we're doing. So this is the
Warren's
what did we say? Let the war
right war in.
Let the right war in. Birthday episode. And we're doing alien movies. And if you've seen Signs, you know, Trav has one on in the back when Warren comes in.
You'll see that Warren has one. Our skull here has one. Have we given him a name yet?
A little foil hat. No.
Let's leave it that way for now.
I thought you were going to give him something really cute. Let's leave it that way. You know what? That sounds like a threat.
I don't have the mental energy.
Yeah. You named my tattoo that I got at the con. Rat Stuffer. I got a cute little rat that's sniffing my armpit.
Rat. Yeah. And I was throwing out a bunch of like really like
awful
good
names.
I thought there were some good ones at the beginning, and then the very last one was just Rat Stuffer, and
we both lost it over that. Again, the sleepy boys over here.
Yeah.
So we're doing 2 alien movies for Warren's birthday, which is tomorrow.
And I have to admit that the real reason behind the hats was
the real reason, not comic relief, because Siena, I'm afraid.
Well, at least how I got to the hats was that I had a panic last night when I realized that I couldn't think of a single like fancy way to dress for this episode.
Oh, I was wondering how you were going to dress up for this.
I was coming up empty, man. Yeah. Like there's nothing in either of these movies.
I am wearing a Korn the band shirt right now because you're saying Splice in a cornfield, and I thought that was funny.
And because you just went to Korn.
And I just went to Korn. Yeah, they were amazing.
I didn't even make the connection.
This is
there.
My Korn. Wow, got the fellas on that one. This is gonna be a silly episode.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry. It's only getting worse from here, you guys.
Yes,
buckle the fuck up.
The real reason, actually, you brought the what's it called again?
Foil hats?
Aluminum foil. Yeah, is because you're just trying to keep all those thoughts in there right now.
Because they're escaping left and right, baby.
So Dark Skies and Signs.
Yeah.
And we're going to get, you've all met Warren before in a previous episode, but we're going to bring Warren in. Should we do that now?
Let's bring the right Warren.
Okay.
Let's
see you.
Warren, my dear, come up. Let's bring our victim up. Oh, are we getting a hat? Ooh, yes. Excellent. Hello.
Hi.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
They're very difficult to keep on, aren't they?
Yeah, well, my head's extra large and just growing all the time.
As it should be. That's what we're here for, growing all of our collective heads. So happy birthday.
Thanks.
Tell me about Signs. This was, out of the two that we picked, this was the more Warren-directed Alien pick.
Yeah, I love this movie. I think it is Shyamalan's best film.
Ooh, them's fighting words.
Yeah.
I don't know that I disagree, but them's fighting words.
Well, it's also like, I just hit the mic and I'm like the audio guy.
It's so hard not to, right? Now you understand. Yeah. I'm so glad to see this happening. This is such vindication, right, Al?
I love it because I feel like it really is a throwback to a certain kind of early Amblin Spielberg films, and but just done in that like moment where Spielberg really isn't doing that.
Yeah,
and it is also treading on territory that Spielberg at the time wasn't really wanting to do, which is that he didn't want to portray aliens as bad.
Oh, interesting.
And he broke that rule when he did War of the Worlds a few years later.
Right.
But he, and this is a very War of the Worlds influenced film.
I mean, the Joaquin Phoenix character even says it's like War of the Worlds.
Yeah. And but I mean, like the family aspect, the idea that this is just a very intimate portrayal of what a family would go through in this kind of situation. And you're not really, I mean, like your glimpses of the outside world are all through TV, just like our own glimpses would have been at the time. Like internet wasn't robust enough to be like in our face. We didn't have our phones. And so like these Spielberg moments that happen in the film, I think really, really shine and are very, very, I don't know, just impactful throughout. And, you know, what is your favorite moment from the film?
I mean, it's funny that you were talking about the idea of seeing the aliens through TV, because the single thing that I loved the most was all of the different tricks that Shyamalan uses to not directly shoot the aliens, to shoot them through mediated surfaces, where for all except really like 2 shots of the film, we only see them reflected in a TV, in a glass, in a surface. And I just thought that was, I mean, it's a throwback to so many of the old monster movies that I love, like Cat People, which I've referenced so much, just in the sense of like showing as little of the creature as possible.
It's Jaws too, right?
It's Jaws. It's 100% Jaws. And it's also just, it's so beautifully shot too. It's like, it's just so precisely made. And it was
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really feels like one of these movies from this era that like I don't think we get a ton of anymore, in like that 99 to like early 2000s era where movies just felt so full and rich. And so like this is like at the top of that for me, like just like fully thought out, like the themes of faith, the themes of belief, I think are all really, really strong. I don't know how much I love that like he goes back to the priesthood at the end as like a like moral thing.
It feels kind of tacked on almost to me, but we'll get more into
it. Sure, but like I really, really love I think it has the most effective jump scare of my entire life.
Ooh, which one?
Where Meryl, is that Joaquin Phoenix's character? Meryl is in the closet watching the TV, snuck the TV into the closet, and they're watching the birthday party. Vamonos, children, vamonos. And the tension, I think, is just like through the roof at that point. And you just get that, like, I mean, what should be like technically like just a very silly moment at a children's birthday party, and a guy in a green shiny suit walks out.
It could go so wrong. It could go so badly.
But it is built in such a way that it is perfect. It is absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just love the movie. I don't love Shyamalan like all the way through. I think that as I have seen his work get progress, that each one has gotten a little bit worse.
That's fair.
And a little bit more self-indulgent and kind of degrading, but I think this is the peak.
Yeah, interesting. See, I really love The Village too. That's I'm a big Village defender, but we'll get into that later. However, I
like the twist more in The Village. I don't think Signs has a twist.
And we'll talk about that because he's given a lot of interviews on that. But it was intentional. However, before we bring Al back in, give us real quick. We joked on the last episode when we were teasing this that you were our resident alien. Tell the listeners at home why aliens for Warren's birthday.
Well, particularly, I have been in this kind of world of UFO subculture for like the last 3.5, 4 years, because I've been trying to make some sort of media thing that has not been going very well, that just kind of like breaks down what has been happening recently in this world. And there's been a ton of developments since 2017. There was this big New York Times cover page article called, I can't remember what it was called, but it really kind of blew everyone's minds for like a nanosecond.
Yeah, and then it was like the whole media cycle.
Then the media cycle like moved on, and I found it really hard to move on. I had moved on. Like I feel like Signs in like that era, the early 2000s, like people were getting like over X-Files. I'm wearing an X-Files shirt.
So
Shout out to the
shout out to X-Files.
Lone Gunman.
Yes, we love.
I was just kind of like, okay, like nothing is like really manifesting out of this. This does seem like a bunch of hooey.
Right.
And so, but then New York Times comes out with this article and like, it's just like adds like this, like suddenly like this is like super valid. And I think one of the things that also kind of like triggered me to go down this path is that there's this like, there's this pyramid of like conspiracy theories.
We love a pyramid of conspiracy.
Is that someone, I can't remember her name, but this journalist put together, and at the top you have like the super awful racist conspiracy theories, Great Replacement Theory,
all that fun stuff.
Prodigals of Zion, whatever. Like all that shit. But as you get down at the bottom is UFOs.
Right.
Because there's some validity to it. And I just think I think of UFOs as being a like gateway drug to a lot of this like more awful stuff. But I also think like because there is so much there that it's such an opportunity to, as a society, like really examine and apply critical thinking and analyze this in a way that helps us like kind of move forward and be media literate with like everything else in our lives. And so that's just kind of like my passion around it. And I mean like, yeah, there's a lot of really crazy, like mind-blowing shit. And like now we're talking about they're in the oceans, they're like, they're able to move through, like they may have always been here. This idea that they're crypto-terrestrials, which isn't like aliens. They're just slipping in and out of dimensions that are just like always just kind of like been around guiding us.
That's really cute.
And okay, so real quick about the hats.
Okay.
So why these came about?
No.
It's because there's this idea.
It's not to keep my brain juices in?
That the human consciousness and the human brains are like antennae. And you can be manipulated. And some people think like, oh, the government has this technology that can like manipulate you, and I want to keep that up. But it's like a Faraday cage. And a Faraday cage...
No.
Yeah, like keeps out
like
all
a Faraday cage of thought.
Yeah,
That's
and so
funny.
It's supposed to keep out all these transmissions and stuff like that. So
I need to just shout out that Al, who you can't hear on the microphone, is turning to Travis and whispering, "Is that sexual?"
I mean, I don't know what other stuff Faraday was into, but
most sexual. You never know. Anything's sexual if you come at it with the right attitude.
Don't piano man me again. Don't gaslight me.
Anyway.
So sorry. I threw you way off track there.
No. That's it. It's about keeping transmissions in if you're transmitting, you want to keep those in.
Right.
If you're receiving transmissions, you want to keep those out.
Them out.
And so, there's it's it's literally a euphemism for like someone who's gone off the deep end, just like wearing a tinfoil hat. And so, but what if it does turn out like consciousness is like
Faraday cages are real,
and we're just beaming.
Right. Quote of the episode: we're just beaming around, guys. Just beaming about. Oh my god, I love that. That was such a delightfully juicy little war and film theory rant corner. That was so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like we should now beam you out, beam Al back in.
Happily.
I had to like the idea.
Your hat wants to stay out.
My brain is trying to throw this off track. That's so interesting. I didn't realize that was what these were for.
That was so cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I know, I could
Thank
listen
you,
to.
Warren.
Yeah.
See, Travis, that's what it looks like to come in prepared.
That's so sweet.
I love you.
Me? I was gonna say just really quick before you get into your thing, that jump scare, that jump scare in the closet thing. When I was watching it again, I told Trav I had to exposure therapy myself to that because I physically could not watch that scene for a really long time. And so I sat one day and I just rewound it and kept watching it until I could finally get to a point where I can watch it now.
You were like, one day I'm going to have to be on a podcast talking about this scene and I need to be prepared.
Back when I was 16, that's absolutely what I was thinking.
Before podcasts existed.
Yeah, before I even knew what a podcast was. But yeah, I love this movie. I'm really excited to talk about it, and I'm glad that Warren picked this and we were able to do this because, boy, as we interweave, I feel like I'll tell about my alien
your
history.
sign experience.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Well, I actually wanted to start with what is your favorite alien movie?
Dark Skies.
Dark Skies.
Well, okay. I love Dark Skies as I love Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Great.
And then Science. I don't know. I like a lot of alien movies because I just am really fascinated by aliens because I'm terrified of them. Terrified.
Interesting.
Terrified.
Tell me more about this, Al.
Oh my god, I'm convinced. Again, me and Warren have to have side conversations about this, but I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, again, kid memory, 7, I don't know. I'm convinced I saw aliens. I've definitely seen UFOs before. Me and my dad saw one after a recital one day. We went on our back porch, looked out. There was this little triangle. Everyone wants to say it's a satellite. I do not believe it. But it was this little triangle with this circle indent in it, just slowly moving across the sky, and then it was not there. Yeah, and then I'm convinced. I used to have a notebook filled with alien drawings.
Oh my god,
I'm terrified of aliens. Terrified of them.
So, is there a part of you that also loves
yes.
them? Okay, yeah, because I feel like that's often a thing. Is
I think it's just the unknown of it all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna for Dark Skies there's a quote that starts the movie off. I'm gonna end on that quote because I just I don't know. What about you?
Aliens?
Yeah.
Relationship to aliens?
Yeah. What's your relationship with aliens like, Siena?
Well, I'm from New Mexico, so there's that.
I've never been to Roswell.
I have not actually been to Roswell.
I don't know if
either,
I can.
But
I don't know if I can go.
They'll get you
I have
out.
to wear this hat. I don't know.
Now that we've made it.
I think I'm just such a...
It's too close.
Too close.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like growing up in New Mexico, because it's
so in your...
In the same way, New Mexico is in the wider culture known for two things. We're known for aliens and we're known for Breaking Bad. And so,
yeah. I was going to say green chilies.
And that. That's one of the nicer things that we're known for. I feel like we're mostly known for not great things. But because of that, I remember there's a... There's like a skate rink in the south of Santa Fe called Rock and Rollers. That's alien themed. And,
it's alien themed.
Yeah, and so there's like a lot of just like alien themed stuff in New Mexico that was like around me as a little kid, and so I think because of that, I've never really found aliens scary. But I also
part of, like,
and I also don't like disbelieve in the concept of them.
Yeah.
I kind of just come from a place of like
neutrality almost.
There probably are aliens everywhere.
Like either like at some point or in the future, or
just
like
statistically it seems very unlikely that would not be a thing. Yeah. And also I'm just like, I've got a ditch to dig. Like I've got a movie to make. Like there's too much going on in like my immediate physical realm for it to be like
set in there.
Yeah.
Just think about
to be a thought that's like that.
Like I think about it all the time.
However, the Greg Araki movie Mysterious Skin.
Oh yeah. I gotta rewatch that.
Oh, I think about that all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, Baby Gordon Levitt.
Yeah. So interesting. I gotta rewatch that one for sure.
It is so good.
That's, I love
hands
the
down,
alien movie.
Hands down my favorite alien movie.
That checks out. Yeah. It's a very like
very Siena coded alien movie. Yeah.
You would pick that one.
Yeah. Which is also like, it's not a horror movie, but it is horrifying.
It's horrifying.
It's horrifying. Yeah. So warning on that one. But shall we start off with a tid?
Another tid.
Another tid. Actually, I have a tid for tat. I have 2 mini tids.
Oh, perfect. I have none, so you can.
Excellent. Love that. All right. So first, I have a Beastly Books related tid.
Ooh.
The idea of the family hiding out in a basement that was once used for coal storage is an H.G. Wells Easter egg. Because in War of the Worlds, the protagonist hides from aliens in a coal shed.
Stop. Yeah.
So it's another.
I love War of the Worlds too.
And obviously we talked about like the Joaquin Phoenix has it's like War of the Worlds quote, but like there's references to
even deeper.
Yeah, woven throughout the whole thing. Also, a little JCC related tid. So there's a quote from Shyamalan, who spent a lot of time trying to kind of distinguish this film from his earlier work and the way that the project was marketed. So he would say, Signs is not Unbreakable, Signs is The Birds, Signs is Night of the Living Dead, Signs is War of the Worlds. And wanted to put that out there because we're playing War of the Worlds at the theater in November.
In part with Vladam, which is a contemporary
art museum.
Yeah, right next door. We're neighbors. So
I
love
little
that.
Double War of the Worlds fact for both the book and the film.
Those are good.
And you said you have no tits, correct?
I have none.
No tits.
Did not come prepared.
No bits, I should say.
No bits.
We're bitless today.
Bitless, truly.
Okay, so
let's dive in.
I wanted to say, I think this is the first real straight up sci-fi I'm covering, which kind of is interesting to me because my own project is sci-fi, sort of. But like, we did Cabin in the Woods and we did Killer Clowns, but those both to me feel much more like they're horror comedy, and the sci-fi is just kind of sprinkled. Yeah. And Videodrome has sci-fi elements, but it feels much more like
still like body horror.
Yeah, it's like body horror, or like the word that comes to mind for me with that one is techno horror. Like it feels like that it's just a different category somehow. Which I'm interested in because I can't really articulate what makes that different, but it feels like it's a separate category to this, which is all to say, thank you for the excuse to talk about some old-fashioned sci-fi and aliens, Warren. It was really a delight. So I wrote down a note for myself to talk about plot, and then all I wrote was Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap starts playing.
Oh God. When did this come out?
2002.
Oh shit. Okay.
So
the Imogen Heap era, got it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know the little bit where she's like, the circles in the carpet. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love it. I listened to that song. Hello.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
I had a feeling.
Yeah, it was my MySpace song for a while.
This 100% tracks. Yeah. So that's all you're getting for plot from me, you guys. That's all we've got.
I feel like in the realm of alien films, this is one that most people seen. This feels very like commercialized in that way.
It's a very straightforward story. It's a home invasion story, but the invaders are aliens, basically. And it's very Night of the Living Dead. There's a lot of shots that kind of are like taken directly from it, of the like boarding up the windows. Some of the framing of the setups is very, very referential. So written, directed, and produced by M. Night Shyamalan, who I wrote, unlike Quentin Tarantino, I find to be massively underrated.
Oh yeah, hard agree. I think we've talked about it before. Like one of my favorite directors.
Yeah,
truly.
I think he's really, and particularly after reading interviews from him for this episode, I came away with even more respect for him. He's really articulate about his own work.
I believe it.
Like
I feel like his mind is just racing.
Oh yeah. It gave his interviews give Toby Hooper. It's like very filled with lots of kind of extremely intellectual references that you wouldn't pick up on necessarily as an audience member, but makes sense to hear him explain. But yeah, just had to shout him out. I know early Shyamalan especially is big time my jam. I watched Lady in the Water and The Village were two of my dad's favorite movies, and
so good. It's so good. Rewatched that one not that long ago too. Yeah,
I need to do a rewatch because that
it's perfect for this time of year too.
We should cover it sometime.
Yeah, I would love to talk about The Village. Absolutely,
because I don't think I've re-seen it since I was a little kid, and it scared me.
Oh my god, you'll have so
much
much appreciation watching it older.
I bet. Especially just like I remember the usage of the color red in that movie. Just we love.
Very filmy.
Also The Visit from 2015. Did you see that one? That Shyamalan? I
liked
that.
What's his name?
It's the found footage, like grandparents horror.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my god, we talked about it. Ooh,
it's really good, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I feel like he and again, people know him for this, but like he is so good. Does he write all of his own stuff?
Almost all of it.
Yeah. He is such a fun, fresh way of telling new and different stories,
and just like very. He feels like he's one of those people who has a brain that's just like constantly chewing on things.
No, he seems like he's constantly has like a notebook. He's writing things down. I think there's just like stories going. It like never two stops. Timelines in his head, just two different stories.
Yeah,
going on all the time.
He's got to wear one of these all the time.
Yeah, that's how he keeps all those things. Underneath his hair, he's also wearing a wig.
Exactly. Hey, there you
go. There's foil underneath.
Vicks, do you have Vicks? Thank you for exposing me to
everyone
this also.
Siena knows that reference.
I didn't know the reference. That's why.
Last episode, talking about Billy Zane.
A lot of you guys were like, why are you skating over this incredible reference Al made? It's because I didn't know what it was, and so I just pretended not to have heard it. So
chronically online.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, this is.
You're like, I didn't write any notes.
I have notes, but they're very inappropriate. So I'm so sorry.
Go for it.
Well, we're talking about cast,
yeah,
and I simply cannot think of Mel Gibson as anything other than every Jew's favorite anti-Semite. Oh, that's like what he is. He's in my head, and I'm a Jew, so I can say that. But
there's certain roles where I can. But his performance in this is
it's just so perfect. It's so
everyone's
perfect.
Performance in this, like start to finish, is perfect. His like fast movements and mannerisms are just like incredible. The blocking on this is insane.
And it's so well cast too, because it really is. Shyamalan talks about how he wanted Mel Gibson because he was looking for like the man will protect his family at all costs. And that's what he's good at.
Yeah, he seems like the everyman.
The everyman.
The man next door.
Yeah, the manly man next door.
Thing.
Yeah. Although I will say, favorite Mel Gibson movie of all time, What Women Want.
Oh,
hilarious.
Oh, you should rewatch that.
It's so funny.
You should rewatch it.
Really?
Ooh.
Oh no. Because I haven't seen it since I was like, no.
I rewatched it again not that long ago.
Yeah.
Tough watch
nowadays.
No. In 2024.
Retract.
Tough watch. I was like, Siena, shut the fuck up.
Oh
no. Siena,
Okay, to be fair, I last saw it in high school.
I loved it when I was younger.
Right? I have such fond memories of it. Oh,
you
no.
might not. Your memories might change.
This is the episode that I get the podcast canceled on. Again, guys, haven't rewatched it in like 15 years, so apologies.
I rewatched it thinking, I'll just put on this fun little...
That's so disappointing.
It was
to hear. Okay, because I was thinking back on it, I was like, my memory of it is as being very like transgressive.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did they get Mel Gibson to do something like this? And it would make sense.
It checks out now.
Cool.
It checks out.
All right,
No. I watched it.
Cool.
The humor
back.
Is
it like
not
early?
Yeah, we did not handle things well. Great. Because I love white chicks, and they have a white girl saying the N-word in there, and being like, "Oh, it's okay because you're with us."
Yeah,
just like because you're singing it or something. They say,
yeah. So that type of yeah. Great. Okay. Well, thanks for warning me.
You're welcome.
Don't come at me. I haven't rewatched it, you guys. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I did also, though, weird little behind the scenes tidbit from the making of this movie. Because Mel Gibson was so famous at the time they were making it, they didn't want to list his actual name on the call sheets in case they got distributed and people chased after him. And so they wrote his name backwards, which was Lem Nosbig. Which
that's so random. I love that.
Also, just feels like there's an anti-Semitic joke in there. Oh, which God. I'm just this whole thing is just
Mel Gibson's tough.
It's impossible to escape. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
don't love him.
Yeah, but, that's all the Mel Gibson we're going to talk about.
Perfect.
Apart from just, I think his performance was good. Yeah,
it's really good.
Joaquin Phoenix as Merrill Hess, also in Her, The Master, Walk the Line, Inherent Vice.
This is when I first fell in love with him, and it hasn't stopped. He's just gotten sexier.
I will say I am not a huge Joaquin Phoenix fan.
Really? He's so good.
Oh, see, I love River Phoenix so desperately much that I just
fuck the other Phoenixes.
But I will say this is the most I've enjoyed a Joaquin Phoenix performance, and I think part of it is that so much of what he's working through is his character's relationship to his younger brother figures, who I know they're his nephews, but it's kind of like a older brother, younger brother relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And this is after River died, so it feels like there is something real.
He's working through it. Yeah. I'm sure. Knowing kind of how he works and operates, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I think he's an actor who.
He's methody.
Yeah, he's methody. He's method light. Yeah. Is the sense that I get.
Yeah. I feel like there was a time where he was did you ever watch his documentary? Where he was everyone was convinced he was, I forget what it's called, Trav, you can look it up. It came out in the mid 2000s or mid 2000s. And it was this documentary, but he was playing a character of himself, and everyone thought he went crazy for a little bit. But it turned out that it was he was acting. It wasn't really. It was him playing a character of himself. But I remember there was a weird time when people thought he was so method. So I feel he went through. But I think it was all this weird. He must have been working again. He probably was working through something, and it was making this art about himself. Probably coming to terms with how famous he started to become and stuff. But
I know the whole Phoenix family had a rough childhood.
I'm still here. Do you remember that?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
It's worth it. Watch it. Yeah, it was really interesting to watch at the time because no one really knew what was going on with him. But he seems like one of those actors. I think this might be one of my favorite roles of his.
I think this flipped my feelings on Joaquin Phoenix. So. Thank you again, Lauren, for flipping my feelings on the Phoenix. We also have Rory Culkin as Morgan Hess, who's also in Scream 4, Columbus, and Electric Children, which I think is really good if y'all haven't seen it. Also Abigail Breslin in what I believe is her first major film role. Obviously, she's in Little Miss Sunshine, Zombieland, Scream Queens, which she was actually in with my lead actress, Gracie.
Oh, that's so cool. And she's great.
She's so good.
All-star cast.
And I think she was only 5 years old at the time they were filming this. So.
She's, again, much like the Culkins, which I know it's a different story with them.
Yeah. But one of those child actors who just
has... switch it on, man.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's wild.
Some kids just got it.
Yeah, they do.
We also, of course, get Wet Hot American Summer co-creator Michael Showalter.
I know. Looking like a fucking snack.
Yes! Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Thank you. I have the biggest crush on him.
He's really
start
hot.
to finish in every role, even in Wet Hot American Summer, big time crush.
Yeah,
and then this,
it's something
he's just
about the nerdiness.
Yeah. There's something about him.
Yep.
I'm so glad you shouted him out.
We have to. Oh my god. Also, of course, Shyamalan himself as veterinarian Ray Reddy. Although apparently Shyamalan did not tell Mel Gibson that he was going to be playing the vet in advance, and so Mel just showed up and was like, M. Night, is that you? And according to IMDb, at least, that scene was shot the day after one of Shyamalan's relatives had passed. So as he's having this conversation with Graham, they're having a conversation about Graham's recent loss. And so it felt to me more like he's kind of touching on something real and channeling something real in that performance. Because I was like... sometimes a director giving themselves a cameo that has as much importance to the narrative as this can be pretty iffy.
Kind of this weird centerpiece of this entire story.
A lot of the plot hinges on that conversation, even though it's pretty brief. And I thought he gave quite a solid performance.
Yeah, but he's probably was able to channel something real.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
so sad.
It's so sad. And it's something that, again, kind of goes to this like increased respect for Shyamalan that I came away with on the other end of reading these interviews, because he talks a lot about, he feels like each of his films is very autobiographical and kind of, he talks about them as almost like diaries, where it's like this sort of tracks onto things going on in my life at the time. So like his kids were the age of the kids in the movie at the time. And I think one of them had asthma. There's like things that are directly related to his real life. The leaving water cups around the house is something his daughter did. And so
I did that too.
Me too. I still do that.
Oh,
I still do that.
I don't have as many cups. I have like one, you see it. I have one water bottle. I have my emotional support water bottle. But as a kid, we had Tervis tumblers. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
And my mom would always yell up because they would go to get one. And then they knew that I had all of them. And so she would shout out to like, Al, it's time to bring like all the Tervises. But I had, because the water would taste weird sometimes, or there would be a hair or a fuzz or whatever. I'm autistic now. We know the reason. I know everything. But at the time, it was just a cute little quirk. But yeah, I would like not finish any water. And they would be varying glasses. So when we saw this movie as a family, my mom was like, yeah, we'd be great because of you.
We'd be all set. Yeah, water everywhere.
At least my bedroom would be good. I could just throw those things. So yeah, my mom was like, my mom used to call me the little girl from Science all the time.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Aww,
yeah.
This tracks.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. Yep.
I'm better about it now. One water bottle.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You've come so far.
I've grown up.
Cinematographer is Tak Fujimoto, who also shot Name Ringing a Bell.
Yeah.
Do you remember what from?
Nope.
So he shot The Silence of the Lambs, Sixth Sense. He's shot a lot of stuff with Shyamalan. They've collaborated together on a ton of movies. He also did Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, shit.
And I needed to shout this one out personally for many reasons. His first film as cinematographer was Terrence Malick's Badlands, which I think is one of the most gorgeously shot films of all time, and also shot very similarly to this one because it also takes place largely, or at least the first half of the movie takes place largely around this kind of old-fashioned clapboard house that's very similar to the house in this movie. So if you like the way this movie is shot, go check out Badlands. It's also just breaking my damn brain that was his first movie as cinematographer.
Yeah, sometimes it's wild to see. Some people just
like immediately out the gate, just are that
trust
good
themselves.
Yeah. Because this is Shyamalan, there are going to be abundant tagline options of varying quality.
Oh my gosh.
So I've listed them in order from what I found least funny to funniest.
Okay. Don't know. Not bad to good, but least funniest to funniest.
So we have The Science of Life.
Okay. Yeah. Also, I thought you were just going to go, The Signs.
of life. It's happening.
No.
Just that.
It's happening.
It's happening. Okay. This one's...
It's happening.
It's happening, baby. It's jazz, baby.
It's jazz, baby.
Okay. This one's longer. The first sign you can't explain. The second sign you can't ignore. The third sign you won't believe.
Oh my God. Bad. I also hate a long tagline.
It's too long. Okay. It's not like they didn't warn us.
Oh, rude.
And
true, but rude.
Last but not least, because I love a tagline with a ... in it.
Yes, me too. The ... dots are so funny.
A message, a warning, a sign of things to come.
Your delivery of it, though, made it so much better.
My voice cracked so badly.
Oh my God, so good.
Ooh, okay.
All right. I like the order you went in. Those are good.
A sign of things to come. So I pulled a lot of my Shyamalan quotes from a 2020 interview he did with The Ringer. So it's him looking back from 18 years later.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of perspective from time involved in this. And also he's giving these interviews mid-pandemic, which is something that he talks a lot about because a lot of people started rewatching Signs in 2020 because it was like, oh, we're all shut inside and like the world is ending. Which makes sense. So it's an interview with a journalist named Tim Grieving. But before I got into the quotes, I just wanted to shout out that Tim makes a really interesting point about Shyamalan's work that he kind of like runs by Shyamalan and is like, does this feel accurate to you? And Shyamalan likes it. Cool. And this goes to what we were talking about earlier. He doesn't view Shyamalan's films as being about twists at all. He says that they are mosaics, that it's more about this collection of pieces being put together to create a picture. And I was like, I love that.
I think that's where like Shyamalan fans stand and where that's the separation, because when people always go like, oh, well, he always did a twist. I'm like, no, actually, if you watch his stories, they just lead up to this thing like any other story.
Right.
And it's just something's uncovered and revealed that kind of was there the whole time if you were paying. Like when you rewatch, you're able to see these things.
Yeah.
So I never really like think of him. Yes, obviously, like he does twists, but like I don't like to think of him that way because I feel like it's not giving him enough credit of mosaicing all of these pieces together to then just reveal the full like the full finished thing at the end.
I so agree, because I feel like part of what I think you say when you say that a film has a twist ending or is building towards a twist is that it doesn't have that much rewatch value, because like if something is about the twist, then it's about kind of the shock value of that first time you watch it. And I find his films to have too much rewatch value for that to be true.
Jordan Peele, people don't fucking say that about him, and he does the same fucking thing. But it's
Get
not
Out absolutely has a twist in the middle.
So like. Well, so maybe not so much Nope, but like, you know, he has these, and it's just like...
Us has a twist in the middle.
They all kind of do in the same way that Shyamalan
Absolutely, does. But we don't talk about them that way. And so it's, we'll talk about that in my...
branded, and I just feel like you can't shake it now, but... Fuck everybody. His shit's so
good. I do think it has gotten worse with time. But
it happens. It falls off.
I also think that happens to almost any director who consistently has all the money they could want and more to work with.
Well, it's Tim Burton got really bad because of that. He's like one of my favorite directors. But
Like
old stuff, great. New stuff, I'm like,
too much money.
Take this man's money away.
Yes, give him less
money. And don't let
money.
him make anything for a big studio.
Exactly. Make him go back to his roots. Yes. Okay, now I get into the interview. So, quote, Signs came from two ideas. One was a family finds a crop circle in their backyard, and then the other was kind of an end of the world movie, all Night of the Living Dead, where it's from the perspective of a house. And I wrote that down because I was like, oh, that like unlocks so much about the movie, right?
Yes. Sorry, this is gonna be so hard for me. There's a book called White is Witching, and there's chapters are each from different point of views. One of the point of views is from the house. It's like one of my favorite. It's a really interesting. I forget the author, but it's a really. I just love that concept. It's really intriguing.
And I think it goes to the way that Tak Fujimoto shoots this movie too, where one of the things that I kept noting as I was watching was how much of it is shot from a low angle looking up. In particular,
so much, right?
So much of it. In particular, there's a lot of shots where the actors' heads are actually fully cut off, where we'll be like, there's one in particular where it's like an over the shoulder shot from the perspective of the dog near the beginning of the movie. And there's like a ton of stuff like that where we're either seeing from inanimate objects perspectives, from animals perspectives, from children's perspectives, or it feels like from pieces of the house. And like, to me, I think that is a big part of why so much of this movie feels really inherently unsettling, even when there's not. Again, I think I read somewhere we see the aliens for like about a minute and a half of
they're barely in. They're barely. And that's what I love about it.
It's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
He actually wanted to show them even less, which I think we'll talk about.
I feel like I remember this conversation with that's so cool. My brain doesn't want to keep
the juices are falling out.
The juices are falling out.
Oh my god!
Crunch, if you're hearing it's my aluminum foil hat. Sorry, I gotta readjust.
Yep. There are going to be crunches throughout this episode. It's just going to happen. He also very much intended this to be his most positive film to this point, where and I really loved reading this in this interview with him. He said, I had a complicated reaction to Unbreakable. I think my somberness at the time of Unbreakable came off in the film. If you see it, it's a very burdened movie. There's this weird moment where, strangely, I went to Denny's. So the movie Signs was originated in a Denny's.
Oh my God.
Pause.
That checks out.
Yeah, it does, right? I was sitting there and seeing a family that was silent and they were eating. And I was saying to myself, I can make movies that are burdened, and that's honest for me. But I was looking at those people in the Denny's, and I knew they were coming to my movies, and I wanted to make them feel better. So I called Disney, and I said, I want to make a movie that is just joyous and doesn't have that lens of burden on it. Oh. It can have a lot of conflict in it, but the voice, the angle, I wanted it to be inspired and childlike almost, which goes to what I was saying about the camera angle, too. Mm-hmm. And so Signs was born in that way. It was the easiest script to write in my career.
No way.
Isn't that adorable?
Especially reflecting back on it, he says that. Wow.
Right?
That's crazy.
Again, reading these interviews, I came away with a lot more warm fuzzies towards him. And I already had them going in.
Yeah.
It was also very important to him while they were planning the marketing of this movie not to have posters featuring Mel Gibson's face, which I think is really interesting. And that's not the image you associate with it. It's the crop circles.
Yeah.
But he really wanted it to be clear that this was an ensemble piece, which I think is, again, a brave director move when you've got an actor as famous as Mel Gibson in 2002 to not even put his face on the poster.
Yeah, wow.
Especially, we're going to get to the budget of this film, but this film had a lot of money to make up for.
Yeah.
And so, studios were putting a lot of trust in him here.
Yeah. That seems very him he wants to be like, I want to focus on the art. Not so much the big blockbuster of it all.
Mm-hmm. And talking about faith, which obviously is like a very explicit part of this movie. Warren talked about it a little bit. Shyamalan said, quote, "It wasn't about endorsing or advocating any specific religion. It was more about that sofa scene where the characters are all with their tinfoil hats sitting on the sofa.
Much like us.
Exactly. I might say right this second that it's almost physics, the idea of energy and putting things into the world, the universe, and those things are attracted and come back to you. So he's coming from this place of like, which I think maybe also goes to why Warren and I'm curious if you also felt like the ending where he goes back to the priesthood. It feels kind of like...
I feel like it should have been a different view on faith. So maybe he believed, but he didn't go right back to the start. It feels like he then didn't... I don't know. I feel like he just went back to a comfort spot, and it didn't feel like a character had developed from one place to another. The arc of it felt weird. It felt a little roller coaster.
It feels like he's moving backwards almost.
Yeah,
instead of like a growth.
Yeah, maybe if he would have then been a person in a church or something like that, or like maybe they just came back from service or something like that. I think
like his relationship to it has changed.
Yeah, and he sees things from like a bigger, different perspective because you would think more narrow thought than didn't believe, and then his world got widened open.
Thought.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan of it either.
Agreed.
It does feel like very thrown in because it doesn't feel like character growth after this huge experience. Like just to go back to this
to where you were.
I don't know.
But I also
am not a faithful person in that way, so I don't know like how that journey works. But as a character study,
it kind of makes sense with this quote from Shyamalan because it feels like that's really not what he's interested in with the movie. Like, it's not about Christian faith as much as it is about
just believing in something bigger than...
Yeah. And I think it gets so overly specific about his relationship to Christianity in that last moment. Whereas the rest of the movie...
I kind of sweep that part of just a little bit on the side.
You would just kind of cut it. And I think that would raise it from like a 4 to a 4.5 star for me.
Yeah.
But you know what?
Agreed, though.
It's fine. And so here's the quote I referenced earlier where he was talking about the ways in which this is kind of autobiographical. He says, "People that are able to hyper-compartmentalize, it seems like a superpower, but I'm the opposite." So when I drop something, like a line that comes out of Bo that says, "Can I have a glass of water? There's a monster outside my room." So good, right?
Can I have a glass of water?
There's a monster inside my room. I wrote that line to talk about how children think so fast, right? They just, the next idea. Can I have a glass of water? There's a monster outside my room. Well, does she want a glass of water? In a movie where everything has meaning, what is that? And so, like, again, every single thing in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
He's able to think back 18 years later and reference exact lines of dialogue and what they related to in his life at the time. That is unusual.
Yeah. I'm not surprised because, again, the way he has to puzzle piece these films together and, like, knowing where it's, I mean, I guess, like, I don't know if it's writing, but, like, it's just really fascinating how his brain works. So
it's
I'm
really
not, I gotta say, I'm not surprised. I really love him as a director and
I do
and a
too.
writer.
And a person too. I just,
he seems kind of cool. Also very introverted.
Yeah, he seems like somebody that I'd like to have dinner with.
Not to diagnose, but like maybe a little neurospacey.
Yeah.
Again, not diagnosing anybody. It just gives that.
I feel a kinship. Yeah, I'll put it that way. A little art history tid for you. Ooh. There are two art prints hanging on the wall in the house. They are both by Grant Wood, who you might recognize his name because he's the guy who painted American Gothic.
Okay, I figured. I had a feeling it was like one of those.
Yeah, which like so appropriate.
Especially the farmhouse too, the way their house looks.
So the two that we see are Spring Plowing and Stone City is what those are called. And moving into cast and crew, Shyamalan cast Culkin off of You Can Count on Me. But Rory wasn't the only actor he wanted to take from that movie. He'd also cast Mark Ruffalo as Meryl. Did you know this story?
No.
So Ruffalo was supposed to be in the movie up until a week before they started shooting. He had to have emergency brain tumor surgery. It ended up being benign, but they waited until the last possible moment to recast it because they were like, we really want Ruffalo.
Wow. I mean, yeah, he's so good.
I
feel like he actually this is one of the ones where I feel like he could have played
have totally done it.
Different performance, but it would have been really interesting to see. It would have
absolutely worked.
Wow.
Yeah, so they I can't even imagine. I wrote afterwards. They recast like a week before production started, and I'm like, if you made me recast my lead right now, which is I'm about a week out from production, I would abduct and probe you. Yeah. So I can't imagine. For Graham, though, Shyamalan originally wanted an older performer, actually, older than Gibson. And he apparently approached Paul Newman and Clint Eastwood. Eastwood had a schedule conflict. Whoa. Newman just wasn't interested, which kind of makes sense.
Checks out.
But
that would have been wildly wrong.
I think they ended up with the right person. But Shyamalan said in an interview with Ain't It Cool News, Mel was a natural after Mr. Newman declined. They have the same kind of haunted eyes.
Ooh. I don't know whether I think that's a compliment or not.
Right?
Also, if we would have had Clint Eastwood and then he has a 5-year-old.
Yeah. I'd have
We don't need to be that Hollywood on screen.
Yeah.
Off screen exists, but like I don't want to see it.
Right? Especially because I'm sure that they wouldn't have cast an older actress as his wife.
No.
Of course not. Let's see. They shot this movie almost entirely chronologically too, which I thought you would enjoy.
This might be one of our the second one. I forget what other one we covered that was chronological.
Yeah, there was one.
It was one of mine.
Yeah, but I can't remember what. But the only scene that they didn't shoot in order was actually the very last scene in the movie where they're, or not the very last, but the one where they're outside on the lawn with Graham and his son trying to get him to breathe.
Yeah.
Just because
that's fucking scene.
So well acted, but that one they had to move up in the production schedule just because they were shooting into October, November, and it was getting a little too cold.
Breath on screen.
Little note on the soundtrack because this,
I think this should go in like one of the top 10 best soundtracked films of all time. Okay, Warren's agreeing. I just think it is so good at making you feel things. Yes. And it still gives me chills. It's beautifully scored. I just think it needs to go up higher. Like, people need to talk about this. People talk about Jaws and all this stuff, and I'm like, do. Ugh. It's doing that makes me like get chills. Oh my god, I'm so excited you're talking about this.
I found actually a lot of people talking about the soundtrack.
There's good.
Yeah. So I pulled some I pulled some interviews from actually like music critics talking about the soundtrack. It was nominated, actually won an award from ASCAP, which is the like organization that does music rights, basically.
Okay, cool.
Composed by James Newton Howard, who scored a ton of Shyamalan films. He also did Pretty Woman. He did The Dark Knight. And according to IMDb, he began composing the score before the film was even shot, based on storyboards, which I love.
Cool. So his brain was just working in a whole way too.
And the opening motif in particular was something that he kind of figured out before they started shooting, and Shyamalan loved what he got so much that he brought it to the cast and was like, this is the
this
mood.
is the tone.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sets you up too, and it feels very like we talk about War of the Worlds. It feels like something that could have been
totally.
I don't know, it feels very timeless.
Yeah, and it has this kind of optimism to it too. It's got a lot of tension, but it doesn't feel like things are gonna end horribly.
It's a very bold score.
So let's see. Here's the quote that I found from William Ruhlman's review for AllMusic, which is kind of a mixed review, but he had some interesting points about the composition, which is why I pulled this one. He says, Howard ratchets up the tension, and his music alternates only between the ominous and the suspenseful. He overloads his lower tones, employing 8 basses, 5 percussionists, and even a tuba, but also uses a large string section for short, fast, repetitive figures meant to keep viewers on the edge of their seats. It's consistent with Shyamalan's style in that it is so relentless. There's just no let-up. Dread pervades every moment of the director's films, to the point of emotional exhaustion for some, and the score has the same uncompromising approach.
Love that.
I thought was...
It's true, though. It really kind of like makes you feel like, ooh, gotta
it
walk
just,
fast real quick.
It really does. It never lets up.
Yeah.
And it also, I think, it's used at very... strategic moments in the film. I think it's not over soundtracked, which is a problem I have with movies sometimes. Like, there's really good intentional use of silence too.
Yeah.
Which that's actually one of the next things that I wanted to mention is that the chirping crickets motif that we have at the beginning is actually a reference to the birds. Both because we have at the beginning of the birds like the sound of the birds creating that ominous tension, and because of the idea of like when the crickets stop chirping, that's when there's danger.
Yeah.
That's
Do you ever... It's always creepy being somewhere really silent and you hear the crickets and you're not even like close to them and they stop. It's like, oh fuck.
Right?
Like too much silence is a little bit too much for me.
Yes. Yeah.
It's jarring. You don't realize these background sounds or these... I think there's a few films that play with like a cricket sound like that. It's like when things go, it's
when
like
ambient noise
especially
vanishes.
in horror and stuff, the pulling out of sound is like, oh fuck.
Is so effective. And it then also makes it makes the music more effective when it comes into. Little cute mini tid, the art in the Aliens book that the kids are reading was made by M. Night's daughter, Salika Shyamalan.
It's so good.
Right? Isn't that so sweet,
wow,
too?
it's really good.
And I get another little autobiographical moment.
They need to come out with that book. I want that book with the art in it. Yeah.
I would get it for you.
Yeah.
And we love a corn tidbit.
I know.
You probably know all the crop circles were real because at this point Shyamalan was very anti-CGI as much as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently the production, though, used a watering technique to grow their cornfield that was so successful that the Delaware Valley Agricultural College, where they were shooting, ended up adopting it for themselves after the shoot, which I thought was hilarious.
That's cool. Whoa.
I tried researching it to find out what that watering technique
also part
was,
of agriculture.
Truly,
science,
just dropping tidbits left and right, agricultural tidbits. Now I get to my tinfoil hat tid.
Yay! I'm glad we got one.
The hats actually weren't made with tinfoil at all.
Oh, fuck. No wonder we struggled. Okay. I took a video, everyone, of us trying to put...
I
went
this
first.
was going to be so easy.
Yeah. I went first, kind of. Siena was trying to make it for the skeleton on the middle of our table. I then decided to just go off. Very hard to make with tinfoil. Plaster.
Yeah. No.
Or like...
No. I would never have guessed what these were made of, but... It's funny because reading this before we tried doing this, I was like, why wouldn't they just use tinfoil? Now we know why they didn't just use tinfoil because it's damn near impossible. But what they used was beeswax paper painted chrome gray. So it still has that crinkly quality, but it'll hold its shape a little better.
Yeah, not slide like this is.
Yeah, not like lift off your head the way this is doing.
That's smart, actually.
Yeah. So if only I'd had the time to bring in some painted chrome beeswax paper, but I did the best I could. The Brazilian birthday party scene, which we love, shot by M. Night himself on camcorder.
Oh, I love that. That's fun. That's cute.
We love director taking the camera.
And it's the scene everyone talks about too, so it's really fun for him too, probably.
I think it made number 77, I want to say, on like the Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments, which makes sense.
Again, exposure therapy over here.
I know I'm running out of time, but I'm going to real quick run through a couple of their delicious tids because there's just so much from this one. Subliminal Easter egg when the DVD goes into the player, right after the Touchstone logo comes up, there's this like super fast black and white shot that appears and then disappears, and the same image comes up when they hit play. It's a still from the film showing Meryl, Morgan, and Bo sitting on the couch with the tinfoil hats. Which
that's fun.
I love stuff like that. It's too fast for you to see it unless you pause at just the right moment, but it's there. And apparently, this I referenced a little bit earlier, Shyamalan actually wanted the aliens to be invisible, but when he saw ILM's tests, because this was ILM doing the special effects work.
We know someone from...
We sure do. Yeah. Shout out Todd Vaziri.
Yeah.
He wasn't happy with what the effect for the invisibility looked like at the time because, again, it's 2001 when they're making the film. This is still very early CGI. And so instead we get what I talked about where he uses all of these like mediating techniques to show the creature, which I think is just genius. Let's see. Little monster design tidbit. I actually labeled this monster design rant corner crossover.
Oh God.
So the aliens were originally scripted to have like a very feminine build, and so they hired like tall, thin actresses.
Busty ladies.
Yeah.
Just kidding. It's just a yassified fucking alien.
Oh my, would love. I want to see that version. But they hired tall, thin actresses as the CGI models for several shots, including the Brazilian birthday party. But they then kind of decided that wasn't as scary as they wanted when seen in as much detail as you see the aliens at the end. So for the scene where the aliens are on the roof and for the last kind of confrontation with Morgan, they used male models as the base. So we have this kind of like gender shifting alien body that I thought was super interesting. Want to take a guess at how much this cost?
I don't know, man.
It is by far our most expensive movie to date.
Like 35 million?
So much higher.
This chair squeaking as I lean forward. Wait, like 50 million?
Higher.
Oh my God. What the fuck? 100 million.
72.
Okay. You should have told me to only go up a little bit. I was like, more?
Only go up by 22 million.
Was this Marvel? Oh my God.
But went on to gross 408.
Holy crap.
So he did okay.
Okay. Yeah. Did you ever see this? I think I went in theaters to see this.
This was my first time seeing it. Yeah, hadn't seen it before.
Oh my God, wild.
Yeah.
How'd you miss out on this?
Because I watched Shyamalan with my dad, and my dad liked all of the fantasy Shyamalan. So Lady in the Water, Village, that was his jam. Aliens, not my dad's jam. So I got what I got.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Holds a 75% from critics and 67 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is interesting. I kind of would have expected it to be the other way around. Same. But Roger Ebert fucking ate this shit up. He loved it.
Love it. We haven't talked about him in a minute. I'm glad.
I felt like, again, I know I'm taking way too long, but I'm almost at the end, I promise. No, and we have to give an Ebert quote because it's just too good.
Yeah, we have to.
So he gave it 4 out of 4 stars. Talked in particular about the way Shyamalan uses crop circles as kind of a device to set up a story that's not about crop circles or aliens at all. He said, "Here is a movie in which the plot is the rhythm section, not the melody.
Oh my God.
The purpose of the film is to evoke pure emotion through the use of skilled acting and direction, and in particular through the soundtrack. It is not just what we hear that is frightening. It is the way Shyamalan has us listening intensely when there is nothing to be heard. I cannot think of a movie where silence is scarier and inaction more disturbing. At the end of the film, I had to smile, recognizing how Shyamalan has essentially ditched a payoff. He knows, as we all sense, that payoffs have grown boring." And I thought that was...
He really liked this.
Yeah, Damn. He loved
like all
this.
Yeah.
That might be the happiest I've ever heard.
Yeah, I feel like he was just like, dude, he's like a jolly man just writing that down.
Which, adorable. We love to see it. On the other side of the spectrum, Mick LaSalle for the San Francisco Chronicle gave it 1 star and wrote that the film had, quote, "few thoughts and no thrills," which I just thought was hilariously relatable because I too have few thoughts and no thrills.
Truly.
Yes, it was 77 on Scariest Moments. And I'll just end on my little mini rant corner, which is just a tiny little paragraph. which is basically just my in defense of Shyamalan
moment
here.
Oh, Jen,
I think that it's interesting to me that for a film that's as blockbustery as this film is, from a director who's seen as blockbustery as he is, both the positive and the negative reviews this film got, however you felt about it, were all hinging around the intellectual satisfaction or lack thereof that the film provides. Like the whole concept of whether there's a twist, whether the twist pays off, whether the religious themes are engaging, all of that, whether you like it or not, I think you have to admire that Shyamalan is making blockbuster films that provoke such like film theory and analysis based reactions, whether they're positive or negative. It's not really about whether the movie scares you, it's about whether the puzzle clicks. And I think that's actually a really unusual way to make your audience engage in the sphere that Shyamalan's working in. And so I just like tinfoil hats off to him for that.
Tinfoil hat hair underneath here.
Truly.
I love that. Yeah, I love him. I just think he's brilliant. I feel like this is a really like I feel like when people think Shyamalan, like they think of this film, but I think for such good reasons. It also still in 2024 feels timeless to me. Yeah. So even with all the technology and stuff, this still feels very real.
100%.
And I don't feel like it's missing cell phones. I don't feel like it's missing the internet. I don't feel like it's like missing any of these things, and it feels so perfect still.
I think
so fun.
I personally think the Brazilian camcorder scene would be a lot less scary if it was shot on like a cell phone.
But it might even look like that. Let's be so fucking for real.
True.
Like we see some media that looks like that sometimes.
100%.
You know what I mean? So
I mean like the
just would have had like 4 angles of it from cell phones.
Exactly.
That'd be the only difference.
Any other Al reactions, Al thoughts?
I don't know. I'm really happy we talked about this. We'll talk about it more when we get to Dark Skies, but I just think this is like such a perfect like cinematic movie. I think it hits on everything. I don't know. It's if you're gonna watch an alien movie, I feel like why not this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've watched this so many times that I could probably quote most of it. So yeah, it's just brilliant performances. I love this one.
So good.
Yeah,
so good.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 for sure.
Anything else that I need to mention here? I think we hit it all. I think that's it. All right.
As a yawn. We'll take a little break and I'm gonna go zhuzh my helmet.
Our hats. Yeah. I feel like they need some sprucing up.
I gotta be honest, very sweaty under here.
Yeah, already. I'm terrified to take this off. I feel like I can't
sweaty.
now. We'll be right back.
I know how much you love stories of horror and gore. Meet our sponsor, Beastly Books, the independent bookstore owned by author George R.R. Martin in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Beastly specializes in autographed titles, rare editions, and speculative fiction, which includes sci-fi, fantasy, and of course, horror. You can find many authors whose adaptations we've covered at Beastly, including Stephen King, Clive Barker, and more, alongside the likes of Nick Cutter, Shirley Jackson, and Anne Rice. Visit the Santa Fe storefront Wednesday through Sunday at 418 Montezuma, or shop online anytime. I don't know why I'm Irish now, but you can find them at beastleybooks.com or on Instagram at beastleybooks418. And make sure you use code SPLICE10 to save 10% when you shop online. Splice 10 to save 10% when you shop online. Bye.
And we're back.
We took off the hats.
Sam's hat, which probably is actually, I'm realizing, a good idea for audio, just because I'm sure it was real crinkly.
It wasn't as crinkly. I feel like I noticed those little things. Like I noticed your chair creaks. But like because they're leather, you know.
Well, mine did when I think about that.
Remember, I like gasped and it just went. And
our thoughts stabbed the conversation.
Oh man,
participatory chair.
Truly. They want you don't get a mic. I don't know where to begin here. We're gonna bring Warren in a second.
Oh yes, Dark Skies.
This
was your pick.
This
was Warren's pick. But had Warren? Have you seen
actually
it?
that's.
Let's
just bring him in. Actually,
out of here.
Yeah, we don't know how to do this yet, guys. We're not used. This is why we haven't had guests yet. I'd just be yelling at them. Warren, also Sans hat. Hi. This is easier with you than it is with Trav. I don't know why.
Well, A lot of baggage.
Hi. Also, happy birthday. Even
Thank
though
you.
Tomorrow. Happy early birthday.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, Dark Skies. Have you, when we picked these two, me and Siena were asking, you immediately wanted Signs, and then we were kind of struggling with like what would be the second film to stuff, I feel like, for a second.
Well, I'm glad you made me pick something I haven't seen.
Okay. Because I definitely bullied everyone. This is my movie that I love to bully people to watch.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so curious to know, like, in your
I'm so
zeitgeist,
did you
are they out there? Did you know of this film like in the peripheral of like alien films, or
I got this movie mixed up with a movie that came out around the same time called The Fourth Kind.
I touched on that in here.
Yeah. And so like they kind of like bled together. I know that one's found footage, but I hadn't seen either. So like I was saying, like this period after, I feel like Signs like did it for me for Aliens for a while.
That's what it was really like. I feel like anything we did paired with Signs, it's like Signs is just so perfect of a movie that it was like hard. But I gotta say, watching Signs back to back with Dark Skies, I don't know if you felt the parallels as much as I did.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. What did you think? Because I know you and Janelle watched it together, and you texted that you were watching it, and I was like, "Oh no, Warren's gonna like love this or absolutely hate it." And
I loved the experience.
Okay, valid.
I will say that I think the movie. I mean, it's Blumhouse, and I kind of just have like this feeling about a ton of these Blumhouse movies, and I think we might be at odds about this.
Really,
but that it is just kind of like a game of like, let's take all of these horror tropes and cliches and place them together.
Yeah. Which, I mean, to be fair, you're not wrong. We'll get into my notes. Like, that was kind of what they did. You know what I mean?
But
so
I also don't love
wrong.
it. I think it was done to, I mean, I don't not love it. I think it was done to great effect as an homage, but also to like, the so bad it's good love of and you know the hokiness of a lot of like horror movies. I think that there was it was just like, this is the realm, this is the world we're playing in, and it's this kind of Blumhouse world that we're in, and if you're not ready to commit, this isn't going to be for you. But I mean, it seriously had some great laugh out loud moments for me.
Oh my God, like what?
The banging the head against the. I know that probably wasn't meant. That's supposed to be like one of the more horrific scenes in the movie.
I was gonna say we are. I think we're at odds. I'm just gonna put this out there. This movie scares the fucking shit out of me. And so I love this for you.
I did get scared. No, I buried my head.
This movie terrifies me.
Like, there are points where I was like burying my head, like trying to hide behind Janelle. Just in those especially like that last scene. And okay, can I say what I love?
Yeah.
Josh Hamilton.
Yeah.
Great, just what a workhorse.
Yeah.
Really gets it done. He's in one of my favorite movies, the Noah Baumbach film Kicking and Screaming. Where he plays just like this incredible jerk.
He's weirdly good at playing jerk.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
I don't know what that says about him.
Like,
he's really good at it.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to hang out with him, I don't think.
Okay, same.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think he's great, and I think he's taken on a new challenge as being like this kind of like milquetoast business family man.
Yeah.
But okay, the other thing that I love and is kind of like perplexing is this idea that this family who lives in this incredible house has all this money trouble and is like the whole theme running through the whole thing is like, oh my God, are they gonna have to, I don't know, like
get rid of their house,
foreclose on their house, or go bankrupt, or what's gonna happen?
But they're in this really nice suburban.
But they're in this really nice.
It's live in the Home Alone verse of like, how does the dad make all of that money? Just that job.
And then I just don't understand, as the movie like, what the point of him actually getting the job was.
Well, I feel like we'll talk. I do feel like I feel like maybe some of I got a lot of like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like it's just part of that family struggle that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah.
So it does make sense to like give him, was it the most realistic one? Not for you. But I do feel like it adds to this family. I'm going to be a Dark Skies defender until I die. I love this movie. So I will find everything to come at. But
yeah. Please. I mean, I want to be swayed. I want to be convinced.
Hopefully behind the scenes for anyone. It's also, again, it's hard because to your point, like I feel like Dark Skies does kind of, I don't want to say like rinse and repeats like a lot of tropes, but it does take over a lot of these tropes that we see. And it's like, do other films do it better? Yeah. Is this the most original thing? No. But it's one that really scares me. And I don't find it, I love it so much because I don't find it easy to be scared by movies.
Now, do you think that's because you're just naturally scared of aliens?
But other alien movies don't scare me like this.
Okay.
And so that's why I think this is like I think I have like one of two films that like actually horrifies me. Can't think of the other. Probably arachnophobia. Probably the spiders.
Wow.
But yeah, it's one of the few, and I don't know what it is really for me, but it just works, and I like the scare moments of it.
I said like like him going out in the yard getting the bloody nose.
Oh, him in that scene with the gaping mouth is horrific to me. I think maybe just some of the imagery is so horrific.
That was
to
when
me.
we laughed the most.
Oh my god. I see, but that gives me such uncanny valley that like it horrified me.
Yeah.
It horrifies me.
Uh-huh.
I always say if like Trav turned around and if any of you fucking do that to me, I swear to God, I will punch you I will actually punch you in the face.
That's the thing. From another alien movie, that's the thing with the 1970s Invasion of the Body Snatchers, where they go, and then like that. Yeah.
I haven't seen that one yet. So.
You probably will be scared of it.
Perfect.
Lovely. I did try to look up some trivia for this, and I thought, I wonder what my friend ChatGPT, I don't know, do you guys use AI in any shape or form to do research? Don't.
Okay, perfect.
And here, let me show you why.
You were going to read us ChatGPT.
So, I was just like, I wonder how how Carrie Russell found her way to this role. And
I do have bits on that. I'm curious what ChatGPT is saying.
To preface this little conversation I'm about to read between me and ChatGPT,
you and Carrie Russell,
there is another Dark Skies. It was a TV show. Uh-huh. It was a very much like X-Files X. I think it was a period piece set in the 60s. But
you have to make sure you type in like Dark Skies movie to get anything on this.
So I asked ChatGPT,
Mr. GPT,
what's some great behind the scenes trivia about Dark Skies with Carrie Russell?
Mm-hmm.
Dark Skies is the short-lived sci-fi series from the late 1990s. It developed a small, passionate cult following. And some interesting trivia behind these scenes is especially involving Carrie Russell, who starred as Kimberly Sayers.
Is she in the... No.
I immediately start Googling and IMDbing Carrie Russell's breakthrough role. Dark Skies is one of Carrie Russell's earliest roles. Before she hit it big with Felicity. None of this is true at all. And so at the end I say, whoa,
you
what?
Feeling okay?
I say, whoa, what? and it goes, yeah, Dark Skies has a fascinating backstory, but it only got one season. Carrie Russell played Kimberly Sayers, a central character.
Like, loops back around. Okay, yeah, no, we don't use AI.
Is Carrie Russell really in Dark Skies, the series, and the unrelated movie? No, Carrie Russell's is not in both Dark Skies. This is weird because I'm like, oh, it's kind of like onto itself, and the unrelated Dark Skies movie.
It's onto itself.
It can be confusing because they have the same title, but then it goes on to like talk about her filmography, and then
brings up Felicity again.
Though the titles are the same, the TV series and the movie have no connection to each other. It's just a coincidence that Carrie Russell ended up in one Dark Skies project and later in another. I said, "You're nuts." And then I said, like, it keeps doubling down. Ha ha, I know it sounds wild. Definitely one of those quirky Hollywood coincidences. Same title, same actress, but completely unrelated projects.
See, that's where it's right.
And I said, send me anything that shows me Carrie Russell was in
I'm
the
just
series.
trying to find facts.
It turns out that Carrie Russell was not in Dark Skies this series.
Oh my God. See,
I
this is where technology is great.
I really appreciate you pointing it out.
No. Oh.
And then I'm just kind of like, it's crazy
you
that you
nothing is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I didn't learn anything except for not to use ChatGPT for looking up your tids and your bits.
I don't even know how to use. This is where, like, at my age, I feel like I just don't know how to use that, and I'm not going to. The only time I used any sort of AI things is I made 2 fictional characters that I love kiss in an image, and it was the best day of my life. I made Loki and Kylo Ren kiss in an image, and it was amazing. So that's what I use it for.
But now it probably thinks it really happened, and you've ruined the whole
perfect. I hope there's
large language model.
Perfect. With that, happy to do so.
It happened, but it's one of them is Carrie Russell.
Yeah, one of them's Carrie Russell. Well, you didn't learn anything.
Role.
Love that.
Yeah.
And just really quick before we bring Siena back in, I was curious to know, because again, you're our resident alien. Did it feel like it, and this is just like a general question, like, did it feel like it did a good job of showcasing? Because it really dives into more of like the rules of aliens and like going over. I was curious if like that felt right or like horribly wrong.
So I've talked to a lot of experiencers. In the last couple of years. And you know, one of the most famous is Whitley Strieber, and he's the guy who from the book and movie where he was played by Christopher Walken, Communion.
Which is mentioned that in this too,
which is also very horrific, but is one of the first alien abduction things. And it kind of like, I think Communion in many ways actually made people start thinking they were having these experiences.
Okay. Oh, no.
And that's a big theory.
Okay.
You know,
interesting. Okay.
Among like academics who like looked into this. But another big theory is that there's something innate like inside all of us. And then when we're in like the hypnagogia state, like where you have sleep paralysis, we are seeing these images. You know how like cats jump 10 feet in the air when they see a cucumber?
Yeah.
Because it's like serpentine. It's like a snake. Right. And they're just like, that's
reacting
built in is primordial fear. And so there's some people who think like, oh, these kind of like, you know, shapeless, big-headed, like big-eyed things maybe are something from like prehistory,
right? That has taught us to be like this. Oh, interesting.
But
so it's like the idea of the alien that we know in these movies isn't it, but it's something that like maybe it was something we were like taught to fear at some point.
Like maybe there was another species that we interacted with that had these giant heads and kind of like vaguely looked like this. And but the so when talking to these experiencers, one thing that they actually do want to double down on is that this is not fun. These experiences are hostile. They're you know, in very much akin to like bad.
I was gonna say not saying all the things.
We're not gonna say all the things, but that's
totally.
That's what's happening to them, and that's how they feel about it. And so when they see a piece of media that like makes aliens all nice and happy, they're like,
really
what
upset
the
about
fuck? Like this is not all great.
Oh yeah. That's not the experience I had.
So yeah, like that's really scary to think about and freak out about. And so yeah, it is kind of good and refreshing to actually see one where it's like, oh, we're gonna go there. The kids disappearing is like completely cut out a whole cloth for this film. That I thought was an interesting like aspect, but like that's nowhere in the lore.
Okay.
But cool. I really appreciated the performance of what's his name?
J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons, Yellow M&M.
Oh my gosh, he's the yellow M&M.
He's the peanut yellow M&M.
way. What? I thought you were just going to be like, oh, no, he just looks like the peanut M&M. Which he also does look like the yellow peanut M&M, to be fair.
Since forever, since the 90s.
No way. Anyway. I did not list that in his IMDb credits.
I'm glad I got one in there. I got a tit in there.
Yeah. J.K. Simmons, yellow peanut M&M. Great to know.
Anyway, so I can't wait to hear you talk
Hopefully
more about it.
I can sway you a little bit, or at least make you think the behind the scenes making, because I do feel like it's really refreshing and interesting. So thanks, Warren.
Thank you.
Birthday. Thanks for sharing ChatGPT being wrong.
Man, that yellow peanut M&M sure is so particular about his drum beats.
All my sources are from ChatGPT.
I'm sorry, you caught me in an error.
Yeah. Have you seen Dark Skies before?
No,
so you haven't seen any of these. Oh my god, why do we always do this?
It's always the first time for me, baby.
I don't have a tit on this. Should I just jump?
Yeah, just
okay.
Bit right in.
Up. So Dark Skies 2013. I'm kind of gonna do. I mean. Kind of spoiler alert. I feel like there's some stuff in here that I talk about that are worth.
This one
I
feels
just kind of
like
want to save something
more spoilery stuff.
So
than some of the things we talk about.
But yeah, to Warren's point, the Blumhouse. I think this is our first Blumhouse production. Did we do another one?
Isn't Annabelle Blumhouse?
Was it? Oh shit! Never mind.
Yeah.
This was the first one I covered.
There you
I'm
go.
pretty sure. Watch, I'm so horribly wrong on this. But I thought.
But it's like a very Blumhousey Blumhouse.
Yeah. Very again, kind of Warren's to Warren's point. It kind of very much feels like that.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to. I know we've talked about here how Blumhouse Films does this thing where they kind of give money to creators and kind of give like a lower budget so they could try things out. And I actually found a quote from. What's his name? Is it Jason Blumhouse?
Jason
or
Blum.
Of the Blumhouse. Of the Blumhouses.
Our house mother.
Jason of the Blumhouses. So I got a quote from him about
imagine
this.
if it was like a drag house.
That's how it's gonna be now.
Yes.
I want to be
the little Blum.
I want to be accepted into there.
Yes.
Siena, let's get on this.
Of House Blum.
House Blum. The House of Blum.
Yes.
Oh my god, I love this so much.
Sorry.
Shirts.
Yes.
They'll just send us a cease and desist immediately. We just put a yesified Jason on it.
House
my
Blum.
god. House the Blum down boots. Anyways, moving on. So I have a quote from him that I thought was really interesting, and it kind of goes to the making of this for our writer-director. So he calls this style actually a very European system. So it's an auteur filmmaking, except they kind of set out more to produce this like commercial type of film, obviously, and usually horror films. But he said there's nothing really new to this, but he loves it because in exchange for, not spending too much money, the directors or writers get total creative freedom on this, which he thinks is really fun. And he goes, whether it's Scott Dickerson or Scott Stewart, who did Dark Skies, they choose who's in the movie, they have final cut, and they make all of the decisions themselves. So we advise them along the way and give them these ideas, but it's their choice whether to take these ideas or not. And it's such a fun way to make movies, and we get to take risks, which I love. That's like their whole thing too. Is they create this opportunity so filmmakers get an opportunity to own their thing in the way they want, with a little bit more, not security, but kind of a little bit more validation on the project versus just kind of floating in the ether.
Like
they're kind of
net.
Again, they're in the drag house.
Yeah, they're in House Blum.
He says there are certain limitations, but a lot of advantages to working inexpensively, and one that you can afford to do different things. So I kind of love that. It was cool to kind of read. I'll go over my sources. I found so many great articles for this, actually. A lot of really great interviews, which is always fun to take
I love that.
quotes from. So description of this film. As the Bergt family's peaceful suburban life is rocked by an escalating series of disturbing events, they come to learn that a terrifying and deadly force is after them, one which may have arrived from beyond the stars. Which I don't think is a great description.
It's not a great description.
But that's fine. Because it's not like, again, in the same way, I don't feel like so alien focused. There's so much other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I do have one tagline for you, which I do really actually like this one. And I do feel like this encompasses the film. So unlike Signs, once you've been chosen, you belong to them. Which feels like perfect.
It gets the plot across. It has the vibe.
Yeah. I'm like, fuck the description. Use the tagline.
Yes.
So budget for this is wildly under what yours was, like by a lot.
Not saying a lot.
Obviously, we know with Blumhouse they do a little bit less. Jason Blum was actually a fan of this director. Can you take a guess at what this might?
I feel like it's 5 or under.
Under 5, yeah.
2.5?
3.5.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah. So I feel like that feels right.
That's reasonable.
For this.
And I do feel like particularly, I think they were smart about where they put the money in terms of, clearly they spent most of it on like the last 8 minutes of the film.
Yeah, I think that's where most of it, and we'll talk about the special effects. This was had a 3-week run in like 2,500 theaters, so which feels very short. Yeah. I was actually, I had to check, I was like, was this even released in theaters? Because I like don't ever remember hearing about this.
Yeah, and it was 2013, right?
2013, yeah. It made 27.8 million worldwide, which like,
against a budget of 3.5, yeah.
So writer-director Scott Stewart, like I said, he actually began as a visual effects artist on films like Mars Attacks, The Host, which we keep saying we want to talk about, Jurassic Park: The Lost World,
the Bong Joon-ho,
or the cover looked like it.
That's so cool.
Is there?
Or no, I'm sure it is. Yeah,
because I know the cover of the little arm, and I'm like, that's the only one I know. I have not seen the other
one
Host.
With the arm.
Yeah. So The Host,
so cool.
Jurassic Park: The Lost World, and Iron Man. And then a bunch of other stuff, which I think is so fun that he came from this and then did this film.
Yeah.
And worked his way up to directing Legion, Priest, and then obviously Dark Skies.
That's so interesting also that he would be from the SFX world and choose a story that has relatively little in terms of SFX.
Which he wanted something like this. I think he wanted to discover a different side of himself. He also directed a segment Christmas in a Christmas holiday horror anthology that I love from 2016. It's just called Holiday, I think, right? Holidays from 2016. It has Seth Green in it, our short king.
Amazing.
It's very fun horror anthology to watch around the holidays. So I think it's cool he did a segment in that. So we have production designer Jeff. This name, I copied and pasted it, didn't read it until this morning when I was going back over my notes because I wrote these a few days ago. Jeff Higginbotham. Yeah, it seems made up. Kind of like Mel Gibson on the call sheet. It seems just a backwards name.
Lem knows big.
But he was art department on Donnie Darko, Legion with Scott, and was also production designer on like some big music videos. Taylor Swift being one. Not a big Swift fan, but whatever. And some artists that I don't want to name because they're awful. Awful people.
I feel like I can guess exactly who that is.
Yeah, there's a few of them. So together with Scott, they really wanted to achieve this like Norman Rockwell Americana look and really wanted it to be like America USA, like anywhere USA.
I was definitely thinking, and this goes to that and to Warren's comment, the house in particular felt so like every Hollywood movie home. You know?
Intentionally so. Yeah. They really wanted anyone to watch this movie and be like, that could be us. That could be our home. And I think that's maybe even to the point of like, again, I'm going to be a Dark Skies defender till I fucking die.
Do it.
I think that was part of it too, is like that house, if that was in Wisconsin, maybe a more affordable home or something like that. I don't know. That's not the part I'm concerned about. But I thought I love that it was intentional. It does just feel like blanketed, almost like a set. We have cinematographer David Boyd. He was director and producer on a lot of other projects like The Walking Dead and the Mist TV series, which I never watched, but I love the Mist film.
Nice.
In an interview with videomaker.com, David said, quote, "I tend to enjoy working with most directors who have courage. What I do takes courage, and that I have to defend every move I make and every concept I choose to believe in. If there's somebody that I can partner up with who also is strong and can carry something all the way through to the end, I'm all for that person." So I love that he gave this quote, I think, working on Dark Skies, and then they worked together. So I think they got along in a lot of ways, and also working with a cinematographer. I love that these two, kind of like heads of their departments kind of come from these other worlds. So again, it goes back to our conversation, like maybe you should try a different role just to see how that is.
See how it feels. Yeah.
It's starring Carrie Russell as Lacey. Love her.
She's great.
She's so great. I think I was also excited to see her in a role that wasn't very much like other roles she's done. How funny after she was in the unrelated Dark Skies TV series.
Right,
yeah. According to ChatGPT. Also in Felicity. That's all we learned. The end.
Episode over. Podcast done.
So Carrie Russell was actually the first choice for this part. But Heather Matarazzo, Jessica Biel, Anne Hathaway, and wild card Haley Duff were also considered for the role. I was like, Haley wasn't doing anything at this time. Yeah. She was in the one Material Girls with her sister Hillary, and that was like it.
Yeah.
And like I said, Kerry Russell's never really done roles like this before. She's usually apparently not like a genre film person in this way, but was really attracted to the project because of the depiction of the mother kind of fighting like with and for her family.
It is both of these films are very much, I feel like the aliens are almost a MacGuffin for the family story.
Oh, absolutely. That's why like it was really kind of fun watching these. I would say if you're going to watch one of the two, I would say like Signs is just going to be like,
it's the classic.
You should watch Signs. Yeah. I feel like everyone should watch Signs. It's perfect, whether you like alien stuff or not. This one I feel like feels tonally, it feels tonally more like new. I don't know how to describe it. Like more of a an American Horror Story.
It feels very much like it's a pastiche of horror. Like it is referencing so many other horror movies, including Signs, including The Shining. There's so many things that are.
Oh yeah. I have a whole section on references.
That does not surprise me. Yeah.
She said, Kerry Russell said in an interview with Nerdist, "This is one of those scripts that I read and instantly thought that's gonna work. It scared me. I absolutely bought the family, and it's the kind of scary that I believe. It's the kind of stuff that would scare me. When I'm home alone, I do think of people outside my house all the time. When I'm like, girl, so
same.
For real.
Yeah, same.
All the time.
100%.
I'm on the 3rd floor and I'm so like, people. Again, that kind of goes to say, like, I think Scott kind of wrote that as, like you said, like the core piece of it is the family struggles, and kind of worried about losing their house, their relationship is strained, the kids are fucking afraid their parents are gonna get divorced and thinking their dad's losing his mind, and I think the parents are hiding things, so there's all this like internal family stuff, and I kind of like how it's the family core and having to come together to fight these outside forces versus fighting within, so kind of looking externally versus the inward. I'll run over some of the kids like never did anything. It was like these were like their first roles, and then they like never did anything after. So we have Dakota Goyo as Jesse. He was in 2011's Thor and R.L. Stein's The Haunting Hour from 2011, but he does not work anymore.
Fair.
I love this. Caden Rocket, which now I want to call Caden at the bookstore. Caden Rocket.
I feel like
as
they'd
Sam.
be into that.
Oh, yeah. He is his only credit that I have here that like was notable is he was a magician on America's Got Talent in 2006.
That's adorable. My
God,
that
buddy. Isn't it wild? So, but I think they were actually really convincing in this. I just also kids kind of freak me out, so they were really good at being freaky. We have Josh Hamilton as Warren brought up as Daniel. He's best known for I really love him in 8th Grade, which is the Bo Burnham film, which he's good in.
I need to see that.
Francis Ha, so another Noah Baumbach, and 1993 film Alive. About the rugby team who were in that plane crash. So it was I know there's a new one out now, but that's kind of what. And then like American Horror Story and 13 Reasons he's also in. So he's kind of one of those guys that like pops up randomly and always is like a really interesting actor. So I remember seeing like never hearing of this film, never heard anyone talk about it, but then I saw like Kerry Russell and like him and then J.K. Simmons randomly. So
I can't get over
speaking of
peanut M&M.
I know, me either. That kind of actually blew my mind.
Truly, I'm
gonna tell people that J.K. Simmons, the peanut M&M, the famed role of the peanut M&M.
I'm picturing like his face coming out of the peanut M&M now, and
he kind of looks like the peanut M&M.
He does. No, I'm like, did they design the cartoon of the peanut M&M?
I don't know.
Based on
someone needs to make how there's like the Winnie the Pooh horror movie. Someone needs to do a
J.K. Simmons horror peanut M&M.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'll give that one.
Terrifying.
We should make that. It should be a Splice and Splatter production. Our first one. I feel like he'd be down.
Yes.
I feel like he wouldn't say no to that.
I mean, it would just be a reprisal of the role that he's already played.
Yeah, we're like, listen.
He's done all the prep work
the
already.
Character.
Yeah.
You know the backstory and the lore of the peanut M&M.
No, I'm like the back of your peanut.
I'm afraid to say peanut too much and then the wrong Freudian word's going to slip out, so I'm going to move on. J.K. Simmons is Edwin. I wrote, what don't we know him from? And then I realized didn't put the peanut M&Ms.
No! We don't know him from that, apparently.
He's in like fucking my boy's in everything.
Yes.
Whiplash, La La Land, Spider-Man. The list goes on. Mm-hmm. Most famed for it. Sorry, Warren. You shouldn't have given us that information.
J.K. Peanut Simmons.
Yeah. So, in a thing that would give you a heart attack, in the same way for Signs, Simmons was cast at very short notice.
How short?
I think just like a week or two. Also, yeah, like really short. So he, yeah, so cast very short notice. I want to say I might have some things on that later, but excuse me. Scott said about J.K. Simmons that he, quote, wanted someone unusual, yet with a sense of authority. His character has this sense of menace about him combined with melancholy and resignation because what he's been through, what the family's been through.
Makes sense.
His wall of newspaper clippings of missing persons shows that he's obviously not successful in trying to prevent the Greys from their mission. It's futile to him. And they actually said when J.K. Simmons came on set the first time, he walked in and immediately started studying the room and looking at the paper clippings, the UFO stories, and kind of how the character lived, which seems like something he would do and be very thoughtful about. And so he got a really great sense of playing him right away. And then he just goes on to say like how amazing of an actor he is. He has so much range. I think he was very excited to get him on this set, as would I. I feel
my God, yeah. He's one of my favorite character actors.
I know. I always forget that he's like a character actor because he's so good.
He's so good.
So I'm sorry if I keep swallowing, y'all. I like very
Let's talk about that.
I'm just gonna like acknowledge it. I'm gonna get a sip of water. Hold please. And by water I mean coffee because I need to fuel myself. So Siena, fill the time.
Oh no.
Tell us about the peanut M&M.
How am I supposed to live up to that pressure? My God.
And we're back. Great job, Siena. Good job. The long history of So moving on to the script. Here's the thing.
History of what now?
Did I see the peanuts M&M? No. Oh my God. I thought I said it. I thought it happened, and now I said it. But you were like, the long history of what? You made me panic, and now I said it anyways. I knew it. Listen, once an episode I do this. Do I not?
Done.
But that time I didn't actually do it.
Peaked.
Oh my God.
It's not getting better from here, you guys. You've witnessed the best of the
because I don't hear
podcast.
myself say these. The long history of the penis M&M. That's the horror film.
I am weeping. There are tears streaming down my face.
Every time I think we can get sillier and goofier, we show up in oh my God, you actually are weeping.
Yeah. No, I'm not kidding.
They're streaming down.
I'm laughing so hard, I'm actively crying.
Should we pause or should I give you facts?
Keep going. Do
you need me to make my hat into a fan that you can fan yourself with? It might work for that. So you brought up the you if you're not watching, you can't see what I'm pointing out. Warren brought up the fourth kind. So Dark Skies. Oh, you gotta pull it together. This is a really exciting fact.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I didn't even say the thing either. I'm so sad. So, Dark Skies was originally pitched as a found footage film.
Oh, interesting.
Which I think is so interesting because there's parts in it where you can kind of feel, especially with the surveillance cameras and stuff, you can feel how this could have been.
And it feels kind of appropriate given the Brazilian birthday party we were talking about because that's found footage.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of these, I don't know, I also feel like there was a lot of found footage happening around this time. Paranormal activities.
Yeah, between Paranormal Activity and like the Blair Witch-a-saunts that got...
Yeah, even the VHS films, there was a lot of like found footage coming out at this time. So I thought that was really interesting. Jason of House of Blum actually expanded on this in an interview with Starburst magazine and said that he was a fan of Scott Stewart's movies. And when they met and he asked him what he was thinking about doing next, Scott had pitched it, the Dark Skies as a found footage, much like Paranormal Activity. And Jason kind of really liked at least the idea of it, but said, I thought it was a really great story. There is a great tradition of scary alien movies, but I thought we hadn't seen one in a while, which I'm trying to think of like what came before this. I was like, was Signs the one before? So I thought that it would be a fun movie to work on. The one suggestion I made to him was that we shoot it in a traditional way, like Insidious and Sinister, and not found footage. And Scott was like, okay, that's the one idea I'll take for you. Again, Blumhouse, you can take it or leave it.
Fair.
And so they changed it, and he wrote the script very close to what he had pitched. Just kind of did a little switcheroo of found footage to traditional. And then he was like, but we're gonna have to shoot this really soon, which there's a lot of fastness, which I think you'll appreciate on this, because
I'm feeling that.
they were going to shoot within 6 to 8 months after this initial meeting and having to change the script. So
that's a tight timeline.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I wrote where did I get to it? We'll see. I have it highlighted right underneath what I just said. So after meeting Scott Stewart goes off to write the new version and wrote it in just 6 weeks, which I think, again, fast. Like, I feel like you'd appreciate this. So everything moved very fast on this film. They were just like, go, go, go. I think, though, it feels like they just trusted and knew what they wanted. So Scott said that the inspiration behind Dark Skies was actually him wanting to tell something more personal than his previous films, which, again, makes a lot of sense with this, because this does feel extremely small scale and very, like, small stakes in the sense that it's, like, really this family, and if you happen to be chosen, it's like, okay, how many of them? I don't feel like there's like a ton of people experience this, so it feels very intimate and closed off in a way that, again, kind of freaks me out. So again, with Starburst magazine, Scott said that he wanted to quote, or he said he wanted. Did he want to?
We may never know. Find
out. He says, you read about these terrible stories about missing children, and the public opinion points towards the family or the family member committing a crime, which we see a lot reflected in this, which I think there's just inherent horrors to that.
Yeah,
and I think
the like family annihilator idea.
Yeah. But what if it's more than that? What if it was a malevolent ghost or alien that actually did it, and there was no concrete proof of the family's innocence? And at the core of it, he wanted to tell a twist on the traditional haunted house story. So that's kind of where this all stemmed from.
I love it.
And again, it's very much in this one, the alien feels like an aside to all these like family issues that are going on, and like the thought of like losing the kids because they look like that they're being abused at home. And it's like, I can't even imagine, like, I don't want to be a parent, but I couldn't even fucking imagine going through that and then having like both your children experience, and like they're like, no, I just feel like there's so much confusion even within the family happening that like, no thanks. No thanks. And again, going back to Kerry Russell's reasoning for wanting to take her role in Dark Skies, Scott also said in an interview with Den of Geek, which I love. Again, I have so many sources for this. I think we're going to start putting these on Patreon for people. But she says, I like families in jeopardy stories, which I love that she says that. And I'm getting to that age where myself and my friends are having kids and moving to the suburbs of Los Angeles. So I was thinking about becoming an adult and like, am I doing a good job? Am I a good parent? Am I going to be able to pay the bills? I'm like, Kerry Russell, I don't think you have to worry about that. And pay the mortgage. There's a lot of suburban anxiety out there, given the state of the economy around the world, which I'm like, I don't know when I can't remember when this article, but I was like, oh boy, do we feel that even more now?
You have no idea, Carrie.
You have no idea what's coming, Carrie.
It's only getting worse from here.
Scott also said that the grays we see in Dark Skies is like this active force of nature creating this chaos within them. So again, it's this outside interjection to the chaos that's already happening within the family, which I just love the balance of that and the loss of the control. So production and some alien movie nods that I'll get to. The film was shot in Los Angeles and Valencia, California, at the College of the Canyons in just 21 days.
Oh, wow. That's only 3 days more than I have.
I know. That's what I was thinking. I was like, I think yours is around that too. So it can be done.
My God.
Not that we didn't know that already. You're like, it has to be done. That's all the time
whether
I have.
It can or not, it will be.
But yeah, 21 days. So like wrote this script in 6 weeks, like had to prepare for everything 6 to 8 months, and then shot in 21 days. So dude just went for it. Yeah, and I feel like the result was great. So Scott grew up in the suburbs of Northern California in the 70s and 80s and said it was a really formative time for him. So he was always interested in studying the movie there specifically. I also think Northern California, or if you even get a little bit more north of LA, it does feel like anywhere USA. So I think it was the perfect setting. There was also only practical locations, so they didn't do anything on sound stages, which I really love. Yeah. I know. I feel like this feels very like in line.
Yeah.
And he also shot only with 2 cameras for the entire film.
You don't happen to know what cameras they were, do you?
In this article, it does say, I almost fucking wrote it down for you. Yeah, he goes into details, so I'll let you click on these. Cool. But I thought it was really interesting that it's just like he kept this very like small and tight, and it really is an intimate story. So I think you can get away with that. So again, well done. He, to the 2 cameras, Scott said in an interview with Nerdist, I wanted to get back to a very nuts and bolts character focused, grounded, realistic kind of filmmaking. Boy, the descriptors.
That was a long one.
That was just about the characters and genuine suspense. I made 2 very stylized movies, and I really wanted to kind of throw that all away, and was very pleased with the result. It felt much like a more natural fit for him. Makes sense, I think it was nice for him to kind of like do these big things, but be like, you know what? I can like make my own thing and really kind of get into the meat of like who he is. So normally Scott loved to plan out everything in his previous films. He was very restrictive with shots and like use of color, and would make sure everything was like 100% set beforehand, like storyboard everything, kind of go crazy. And for Dark Skies, again, he stripped all of that down and basically went the opposite way with his approach in this, which is so refreshing to get that. I wish Tim Burton and fucking Shyamalan would do that sometimes. So
sometimes less money is better.
Yeah, he said he wanted
that are expensive are worse.
Honestly, in a lot of things. If you like compare expensive things next to some, there's like ranges where it's like once you get to a certain point, not good.
Yeah.
And I think the same with filmmaking sometimes.
100%.
He actually said he wanted to, quote, get out of the way and bring as much mess and reality into the process.
That.
I know. It really like it's
so satisfying.
Yeah. It feels like real heart and soul filmmaking he did for this. He said that he didn't storyboard anything for Dark Skies, but he did make a shot list for everything. He said there's nothing better than a well-laid plan abandoned, and that's something that he discussed extensively with Brandon Boyd, the cinematographer, and it really allowed the performances for them to dictate like where this went. So they would show up, film a scene, and then like depending on how the actors kind of worked with each other, they would kind of let that narrate stuff, which
that's
I found
how I love to work. I love that. That's so cool.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I love coming in with a plan and then do like one take the way you planned it and then do the rest of it.
What's where I think plans come in handy, especially with like if anyone's ever worked on anything remotely like a film set, you can plan.
And something will always go wrong.
Yeah, Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
So, but I love that he allowed for that room. Cool. It's like he's like, okay, I have a plan. I know what I want to get. I know what I need to get for the story. But like, there's room in there that if something like sparks, he captured it. So I thought that was really cool of him.
So satisfying.
Yeah, I didn't see any video interviews with him, but I'm so intrigued to look some up because every quote that he gave in these articles, he just seemed really like laid back and casual, considering the things that he's worked on. He's not like a little unknown. He just was kind of a little less known in this arena. He goes on to talk about allowing himself to let go of the control and kind of get him actually closer to what he wanted creatively that way. So I think it's, again, planning maybe can sometimes put, or at least he felt for him, put him a little bit arm's distance from the creative process. And this allowed him to kind of probably get in there in the way that he wanted.
Yeah.
He said, quote, "We're working in very intimate situations with multiple cameras." Okay, fact check me on that. Multiple cameras in real.
Well, you said most of it was shot on 2, so that's still multiple cameras. Yeah.
In real rooms, so it was always packed and pretty tight. So it was always about getting out of the actor's way, letting them find their scene, and then placing the cameras where they could best tell the story.
In your defense, I think maybe part of what he's trying to say there, with what he's saying about multiple cameras in the context of this quote, is that if you're running 2 cameras and you're kind of being a little bit loose with your shot list, then running 2 cameras gives you the chance to shoot less takes and to be a little bit more flexible.
Oh, because you can just like
you don't have to try and recreate what you just did for continuity. You've got 2 different angles already from the one take.
That sounds like what he was doing, getting out of the way of the actors so they could best tell.
Exactly.
I'm sure that's exactly what he did.
Especially like if you're working with actors and letting them improv, using 2 cameras is really helpful. So it's like there are contexts where it can be a low budget technique if you have access to a second body.
Oh, love that.
So,
very cool. I know. I want to find some. There are some like spliced together videos of behind the scenes of this, but like not spliced
together. Sorry,
I was waiting for you to do that. I was like, oh, well, that's what they did. But there was like no audio behind it. I was like, I need to hear some beats. I don't want to just like watch for a set. I'm good.
Fair.
So talking about this more minimalistic and realistic approach, other than the aliens, this film obviously, I think to all of us, if you've seen it, does not have a lot of special effects, which was purposeful. So Scott said that he wrote the movie specifically to have almost no effects in it at all. Again, coming from the special effects background.
I love that.
And that his favorite effects are usually the ones that are invisible. So much like Signs, I feel like the cutting out of things worked to the suspense.
It's always better to not show when you can.
I think it freaks me out more.
Well, because what you imagine will always be scarier than whatever we could create.
Also, we've talked about too in previous episodes, like living in desert versus living in woods. And I was like, woods feels more scary because you don't see it.
You don't know what's out there.
And I said I would like desert because I'm like, I can actually see what the fuck. But also that's terrifying too. Like, to be confronted with something, I don't know if
and
I
know
would
where to hide. That's my thing with deserts is like
I don't like either.
Yeah,
I don't want to be hunted. I'm good.
Yeah,
men do that in society already. Oh.
Exactly. We're already
I
hunted.
live in fear every day of men.
So true.
Aliens, no big deal. No. Men, human men.
Ugh. Which do you pick, man, bear, or alien?
Maybe alien, because at least I can go for a little ride. I hope they have a window seat.
Window seat in the saucer.
Like, beam me up a little bit first. You know what I mean? Wine and dine me before you probe me.
Beam a woman up a little bit. My God.
You guys, what do you want? What is that?
Weigh in. Yeah, that's our Tarantino toe
oh my
poll
God.
of the episode.
So glad I got to ask you that. It's still my favorite. That keeps going up. So Scott said, quote, "There are things in the movie that no one will ever know are effects. They won't be thinking about it because the effects aren't trying to be flashy or exciting. I'd purposely written a movie that was more character focused, and I was really excited about doing that." So again, he made sure he served the story and didn't do the fun, flashy things that he could have done. He also talks about this in an interview with Nerdist, that he thinks visual effects have a tendency of being grossly overused. Hard agree. And that the ones that he, what did he say? And that though he's used to having used them, obviously in the Mars attacks,
right?
That he thinks effects are a great tool to express what he wants, and that he thinks comedy and suspense are two sides of the same coin, and that when it comes to scares, kind of with the effects that we see. And when it comes to scares in comedy, for example, adding visual effects makes them not scary and not that funny. The anticipation of the scare is a lot more delicious for the audiences than the actual moment itself.
Ooh, yes.
Because even the closet scene with Signs, it's like that lead up to like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what are we going to see? And like we only actually see the alien for a brief second. And that's like all the scares in this too is just these brief moments. Even the reflections in Signs too. That's what I think I love about this is we know all of this stuff is going on with this family, and we don't get to see
we see so little of it.
Yeah, because it's just like, okay, we know what's happening. That in itself is terrifying, like the lack of control. So I love that, again, as a special effects person, he had the ability to be like, those don't always work. They actually kind of make it worse sometimes. So
he's right.
Oh yeah, he said there's nothing more enjoyable than slowly tightening the screw. Ooh. So that's the approach he took with this movie. And that being said, there are effects in it, but they're very, very, very limited. And the references. So I'll go brief because I know short on time and I have like so many things for this movie. But he has a lot, and I mean a lot of horror references in this. So I won't read through all of them again. If we're putting our notes on Patreon, people can read them.
Yeah, you can go find that for yourself.
You can go find that for yourselves. Yeah, actually, you don't even have to find it for yourself. We found it for you. We found it for you, and you can look at it. Yeah. So the kitchen in the house being shown for sale. Is very similar to the one 1982's Poltergeist, which we're playing at the Jean Cocteau Cinema. Yeah. I think tickets. I don't think we've played it yet. Tickets are on sale.
Tickets are on sale. Yeah.
Also references 1977's Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which I love that movie. It was actually the one I pitched for this, but it's not a horror movie. So we did not do that.
Quite.
But I have like a whole list of like all the things from Close Encounters. So like the bright lights in the sky, headaches and migraines. I think with Alien, that's why I kind of asked Warren like how he felt about this is I think there are like these common like bullet points that everyone covers, but it was again still really interesting. 2009's The Fourth Kind, obviously. In the younger kid Sam's bedroom, there are drawings of owls everywhere on the walls. If you look close enough, me either. Even watching it, I feel like I didn't, but they are there. And in Fourth Kind, the people dream of large owls before they're visited by aliens, which
the owls are not what they seem.
I know. That's exactly what I thought when I watched. Kyle MacLachlan was in an episode of Tales from the Crypt that I just watched too.
No way!
Yeah. Fun fact, I know we did Tales from the Crypt last week. Everyone should go watch.
Yeah.
Every major celebrity, Demi Moore, literally anyone that you can think of is in every single episode. It is wild. It is like a star-studded event. I forgot.
Are you doing like a Tales for the Crypt
Absolutely.
rewatch? I love that.
I am on season 3.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's everyone go watch.
Good.
It's wild
We
to
love
see.
to hear it.
Dark Skies also nods to 1989's Communion. I said I've never seen it. But the scene where Daniel and Lacey go to meet Edwin at his apartment, like there is that little Q&A that he gives them to make sure there's not crazy, which I fucking love.
That was
and they're
so
like,
funny.
okay, you're gonna ask us.
Yeah.
Love that moment.
You with the crazy person wall behind you.
Yeah. You're telling us aliens exist, and we're kind of like, but they had that same mark behind the ear. That was like a little, like Christopher Walken had it in Communion. So might have to check that one out.
Interesting.
So let's talk about the aliens. Obviously, they kind of go over the 3 types: the Greys, reptilians, and insectoids. And again, I was like, Warren, please correct me if I'm wrong on anything. We won't go over those, but again, it kind of does the roundup of the aliens that we all know. I love that he kind of doesn't believe in the other 2. He's like, the Greys, though. And Scott did say that he did, in fact, research real-life accounts of alien abductions and haunted houses.
Interesting.
He really wanted to make, like, a classic haunted house.
And it feels like it.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, same as with science, where it's like it's so Night of the Living Dead, and so like the house is such a big part of it.
You got to think too, like houses, like having anything kind of like that's supposed to be your safe space. Truly is mine as an introverted person, and to have anything penetrate that is terrifying.
Well, and the house is like the stand-in for the nuclear family, and both of these are movies that are so much about the family. Like and the family being breached and then coming back together.
I didn't realize the parallel. That's probably why I like this movie so much. So he did research real life accounts. He said he's always though been fascinated on the subject and read a lot of like blogs and took inspiration from what he assumed were firsthand accounts. And his approach with Dark Skies and what's happening to the family and how they had to like deal with like what was happening with them was largely from these accounts. And he goes a little bit deeper in some of these interviews, but talking about like the psychological elements kind of behind this. So I could have gone into a whole rant corner. Glad I didn't write anything because I would have been very sad because I don't think time-wise we have enough time.
Fair.
But he said his favorite movies are, quote, the ones where the boogeyman, real or imagined, is giving voice to everyday common fears or anxieties. And this movie really is about that. What's happening to the family is just really amplifying the things that are already there in them.
I very much
and he goes on to say too, so what's in their house and what's affecting them are in many ways more of a force of nature and darkness that exists that they just happen to become aware of, that that buzzes around everybody, bringing chaos into their lives. And that was the key thing that he had read about with these accounts. You can read them and take them at face value. They're disturbing, but if you try and look at that, maybe these people are really sane, then you can start kind of getting into these really interesting psychological aspect. I think even going to what Warren said too, of just like maybe this innate prehistoric fear that we have, even if you want to think about it from that way too. But that's why I think it works so well, is these 2 struggles coming in, and that's why Signs is just like, it's always going to be the best. There's obviously some foreshadowing in this one as well. The walkie-talkie session, which I know Warren was sad we didn't get to talk about walkie-talkies on here, but saying that the Sandman would not come for Sam, and saying that he would, everyone thinks that Sam's going to be the first target and everything like that. A little bit of a nod to, what we see happen at the end of the film. And then, even in the scene with the kitchen with Lacey showing the house, she talks about Jesse being like allergic to the world. And there's all these things that kind of add up that when you get to the end, you're like, oh, fuck. Yeah. I almost felt like they didn't have to do that flashback. I sometimes don't like when people do a flashback. It felt like a Sign
rip-off a little bit. Because it reminded me so much of the bit in Signs with the kid's asthma.
That one's so much better.
Exactly. And so it's like, we leave it to the experts. Signs already did it better.
And Signs has a lot of different things happening in it where like it almost felt necessary. In this one, I don't feel like it was necessary. Like I remembered that still. Yeah. That was a pretty big moment to latch onto. So Rotten Tomatoes, we're getting into critics. I don't think I don't have quotes from anyone. Rotten Tomatoes, it has 41% critics, 49% audience, and a 6.3 out of 10. So I think it's what I expected. It's actually a little bit better than I thought that I was going to get. I feel like this is one, much like Warren, I think there's I do think there's other alien movies that do things different and unique, but this one, the moments that hit and are supposed to scare us, scare the ever-loving crap out of me. And I don't know why, because a lot of other movies just don't do that. And this one, I get full chills watching this one. I'm so curious. I feel like you probably fucking hated it. But anyways, I'm not even going to look at you. And I just wanted
that's not what my face is, Al. It's not that I hated it. It's
you just that it scares me?
It's that I have thoughts on why it scared you.
Oh. Okay. Can we get there?
Yes, continue.
I was just going to, no, the only thing I was going to ask or say at the end is I just love the quote that starts it. And I think that's what really scares me. Arthur C. Clarke says 2 possibilities exist. Either we are alone in the universe or we are not. Both are equally terrifying. I just don't like that, man. I don't like it.
I was like, no, count me out.
Because I wake up in cold sweats thinking about this sometimes. I'm always convinced there's an alien outside of my window.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. You're like, poor baby angel. That's your worries.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, I have a film to make. Real stress. Why do you think it scares me?
Al, I had to resist so hard yesterday after I finished watching this to keep from yelling at you on the internet publicly because I cannot believe that you, out of this pairing, took the film that directly references E.T.A. Hoffman's The Sandman, which is the story that is referenced in Freud's essay, The Uncanny. The entirety of Freud's essay on the uncanny is built around the story of the Sandman.
No way. I had a part on the Sandman. I kicked it out of there because I just didn't. My notes started to get way too long.
Fair. Yeah. No. The entire concept of the Freudian uncanny is built on Freud's response to another psychologist writing about E.T.A. Hoffman's The Sandman.
Oh well. Shit. There it is. Yeah.
So
uncanny really gets me.
Well, and because you said Uncanny Valley when you were talking to
because the
Warren.
mouth.
I just almost called you Freud. My God.
Well, remember that's when you were talking to Freud. It's like, Siena, do I look like the peanut M&M for you right now? Am I the peanut M&M?
You look a little like J.K. Simmons.
That's so funny. Freudian penis.
Like the Freudian penis.
Oh my God. That makes that actually checks out then. Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, little mini film
because science doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Jump scare is good, but
it's because it's the uncanny. It's hitting that same button, baby.
And also, I've talked about this too. I'm just thinking in this moment, I have a really tough time with loss of body control. We talked about that, being trapped and not being able to control my own body. And so I think the loss of time freaks me out.
The idea of losing time really.
I fainted once, and actually, I always can catch myself because I always know because anxiety. I can always. There are I have 3 signs that come before, and so I'm able to sit down before. But one time I passed down, I hit my head, and I woke. I don't know. It was probably a minute, but the sense of I didn't know how much time had passed was horrifying to me.
So awful.
And also I couldn't move my body when I first woke up. It was I was like, oh no. For about
that's
10 seconds I could not move my body to get up. And so I don't I think thank you. I think I'm discovering why this movie scares me so much. Uncanny and not being able to control my body. So
there you go.
What are your thoughts on this?
I landed between you and Warren. I liked it more than Warren did. I liked it less than you did.
Yeah. But I don't think anyone's gonna like this
movie. I don't think anybody's gonna like this movie as much as you do. But I liked it fine.
Yeah.
I liked it fine.
It's entertaining, and I feel like it's if you're looking for more alien movies to watch, I would say this is a really just good.
I don't strong genre.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't expect anyone to feel the way I do, and that's fine. And you know what? If you do feel the way I do, please fucking talk to me because I need somebody to understand.
Al needs the validation.
I am so far the only person I've ever met.
Validation. I'm
validation. Truly, guys, give me the validation.
The validation. Yeah.
But again, I have AL. It just works.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Like every other word.
You can't put my name into fucking anything, man.
Nope.
It'll never work.
Nope.
Never gonna
Can't
happen.
even think of one.
I can't pun myself, so I've got to pun everybody
me.
else. Yeah. Oh, I will. Don't worry.
Just punt me.
Can't stop myself.
I just envision you punning, just punting people. But yeah, no, I don't think anyone will love this movie as much as I do, but I feel the need to make everybody watch it because I think it's so fun for me.
I think it's worth the watch. And I will say that
I'm giving you the 60 minutes. I know.
Yeah,
I've been talking.
I think that it's
I just said at you, I sucked down my coffee really intensely while looking at you.
But I'm beginning to understand why it's so uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's just
I get it now. Yeah. Okay, that's horrifying. I'm so sorry. Is that the way I'm looking at you this whole time?
No. You're very polite
It's the doll eyes, Al. The doll eyes.
Yeah, these were fun.
I have no idea what I was going to say.
I don't know. We'll swing it. Other things we should say. I'm finally going to tease because I think it'll be mid-October.
Yes, this one's coming out.
Or a week after.
I think this one's coming out the 14th.
Yeah. So I'm going to finally say it because we gave a little tease last time. Tickets will be up by now. We are doing Nightmare on Elm Street paired with a horror show, a drag horror show before with Holly Hazmat, who is a listener of the podcast and a incredible horror drag queen. I just want to say drag artist. In Chicago, and we're flying them out here, and we get to see their gory, beautiful makeup in person, and I'm so excited about it. And we have some other local queens that are awesome. So tickets for that are on sale. I'm just so excited that we're doing that. It feels really fun, and Holly is just at least socially, I'm so excited to meet them in person, but a wonderful human online. So
and somebody that we only met because of the podcast. So
you
thank
all
you
are
guys
so creative
for making
and
that
cool.
happen.
And
convenient because that is one of the films we're covering on our next episode.
Oh yeah, duh. I was
teeing you right up there. So this upcoming episode, our 29th, is our 1-year anniversary because we actually, I don't know why this stuck in my head the way it did, but we recorded our first 2 episodes on October 13th last year.
Oh man, we really flipped those around fast, huh?
We really did.
Oh my gosh.
Well, because they were an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
We weren't talking
wild?
where we are now. Yeah, it's insane. So it's our
we're doing
year anniversary.
Which I think we're going to do a different anniversary episode that we have not decided on yet. Maybe we'll have everyone vote. We'll have everyone vote what they want. But I think Siena will be filming. But next episode will be, Nightmare on Elm Street. I keep wanting to say Nightmare on Elm Street 2 because we played that. But Nightmare on Elm Street, the OG.
I'll be covering that one.
And then I'm doing Finally, I'm doing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Because I like it better than the first one. It's more It feels more Halloweeny, and we saw
either. So
we saw what's his name at Morgan Crypt who plays Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie. He's a tall man, very tall.
Right,
I was too nervous to say anything, but he seemed really nice.
That sounds right.
So those are our next ones. What else do we have going on?
We'll be releasing the Behind the Screams. This is only tangentially related, but you and I, because High Desert Alchemy is a former sponsor, you and I went and helped out High Desert Alchemy with a photo shoot. And they have a show coming out on the 18th here in Santa Fe. If you want to go check out their work, they did a series inspired by horoscope.
Yeah, and they're
symbols.
Horoscopes. Yeah.
And
Siena's a model.
Yeah, if you want to
tell Siena had to put a scorpion in their mouth.
I did.
And I had to feed you mints because it tasted gross.
I'll never forget what that tasted like.
We're embalming fluid, potent. Maybe. Siena might know what that tastes like now.
I think it was probably formaldehyde.
embalming fluid.
It's same difference.
Kind of.
It's
they both do the same thing.
They both embalm.
Yeah.
So part of my tongue is embalmed now.
Yeah. Scorpion juices.
Yum. Yeah, come see that.
What else?
I'll be on set by the time you hear this. So wish
we'll
me
be doing.
luck.
Yeah, we got a few more behind the screens coming out. One, we did a tiny little Morgan crypt, so you can see what that looks like. We're gonna be doing a film one for you, so we might put a little one behind.
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
one
do a little
wild.
behind the screens. Yeah, I think that's it. If you want to check more of what we're doing at the Jean Cocteau Cinema, October's packed. We highly encourage cosplay. You get actually a discount at bar if you dress up, which is so fun. We've got a lot of stuff. So JeanCocteauCinema.com or Jean Cocteau Cinema on social media. We're Splice and Splatter Pod literally everywhere. And if we're not, we're Splice Splatter.
Yep.
Because the character counts.
Some places don't like ampersands.
Yeah. I think
that's all the things. Is that all the things?
We'll see.
Let me put my hat on to see if I can remember anything else.
Thinking cap.
That's all the things.
That's all the things.
That's all the things. Confirmed.
Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Warren, our wonderful producer, for a full year of Splice and Splatter. And happy birthday.
Happy birthday episode. Thanks for letting us cover these.
Thank you for making us sound listenable.
I know, truly. I don't know. I'm glad we
couldn't do it without you. Yeah.
Thanks, Travis Fowler, for wearing the hat,
even though
no one's looking.
Yeah. Nobody can see Travis, and he's the most committed to the bit. He has not taken the episode off for this entire 3 hour
we'll post
period.
a picture. Warren's taking a picture right now. Thanks to Theo Schaefer for the awesome music that I still love, and
so
happy that we have it.
The only thing better than the soundtrack to Signs.
Yeah. It's ours.
Yeah.
Until then, thanks for listening to Splice and Splatter,
the film podcast presented by the Jean Cocteau Cinema in Santa Fe, New Mexico, at Classic Horror.
It's modern gore.
And
aliens are coming for you.
Yeah, man.
We'll be right back. Why did it turn into Scooby and Shaggy?
I don't know.
We'll be right back.
Zoinks!